Good Monday morning. I lift this cup of coffee to you and you and you and you and you. Caffeine, it's the wonder drug that works wonders. In Pop we trust. Spurs, getting ready for the draft, baby. Enough of this NBA playoffs with other teams. It's time the Spurs got back in the playoffs. And we will, in Pop we trust. Woo! Coffee's delicious. 2 people in here on a full moon Monday morning. Post total lunar eclipse last night. The point of maximum eclipse last night in the central time zone was 11:11 p.m. Woo! It's pretty cool. Woo! Woo! All right. I think, let me see what I got here. Let me do this. Woo! So I'm going to share. Yeah, that'll work. Good morning, 2 of you at 6:06. See if that went on my page. I think I shared it. Let's check. There it is. Jeremy KOLOK is back. There he is. You know him, you love him, you can't get enough of him. The pride of Oklahoma State University. Amber, a.k.a. Foamfoot 420, welcome in. Yeah. I must be honest, Amber, and I am like a hardcore astronomy geek. And I will be in place on April 8th, 2024, if I'm still alive, and I'm getting closer. It's got to last less than 2 more years. The total eclipse of the sun cutting across Texas. Point of maximum, or the center point will go over Kerrville, Texas. It will go over Austin. San Antonio will only have 99% totality. Don't let that fool you. You've got to be in the path of the eclipse. You've got to be in totality. The sun is 10,000 times brighter with 1% at the 99% mark. So 1% more sun in San Antonio makes the sun 10,000 times brighter. You got to be on the center line. At this point, I'm thinking Kerrville. I want to find somebody who has a property that I can, either camp at or what. I want to be in place. I don't want to be in a car driving. But the other thing you have to do, good morning, Steve Duraco and John Williams. You have to have a car, because if there's weather that morning, we saw the eclipse in 2017 in Tennessee, and people in Nashville who stayed in Nashville. Nashville wasn't exactly on the center line, but it had totality. People in Nashville, right before the eclipse, clouds came in, and they didn't see it. So you have to be ready to go driving if there's some clouds that day. Typically, it happens midday. Yeah, we will talk Luka. Vince G. Gonzalez. We'll talk NBA playoffs this morning. Steve Duraco, good morning. The original rock. Got to make sure my In Pop We Trust is properly visible. The P doesn't pop. I need the P to pop. I need the P to pop. That almost sounds vulgar. Woo! Anthony Del Toro, good morning. John Williams, good morning. Here we come. Here we come. Tracy Bogert says the Astros have the third best record in baseball. They have won 12 out of 13. God love them. Here we come. Here we go.
Now, Chris Duel.
Oh, 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 oh. I could have been a background singer for the Bengals or the Bengals. You know, Joe Burrow. I could be his background singer. The Bengals. I always wanted to be a Pip. I wanted to be the first white Pip. Gladys Knight and the Pips. I think I would have been a great, either that or a Jordanaire. They were the background singers for Elvis, but the Pips, man, not only, you know, like Midnight Train to Georgia, they do the choo-choo sound, the woo, 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 I'm leaving on that midnight train, woo, woo, and they would dance in synchronicity. So take that, Jordanaires. I'm just saying, the Jordanaires didn't do that. Thank you, OJ. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. Welcome in on a full moon Monday morning. If you were outside driving to work like we were this morning, maybe you saw that full moon. If you stayed up late last night, maybe you saw the total lunar eclipse. Some of us have to wake up early in the morning and do a radio show. So I must admit, I went to bed before the totalness of the lunar eclipse, but I woke up this morning, looked at social media, looked at Facebook, looked at Twitter. So many people got amazing photos of the eclipse last night. So freaking cool. My gosh, so much to talk about. And I think the biggest headline involves Shannon Salty Sweeney's favorite NBA team. We're going to talk to her in just a sec. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, our chief meteorologist and the hardest working man in radio, certified brainiac by virtue of his 4.0 grade point average, his final semester at Oklahoma State University. He makes the show go. A couple of great guests today. We'll tell you who they are. But Shannon Salty Sweeney, who the heck saw that coming? Game 7 at Phoenix. And not only would the Dallas Mavericks win, the Dallas Mavericks would destroy the hopes of Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns. Final score 123-90. It actually wasn't even that close going into the fourth quarter. Shannon Salty Sweeney, what were you thinking as you saw this unfold last night? And how do you feel about what I got to believe, Shannon, is one of the 3 or 5 biggest wins in Mavericks history? Obviously, their NBA championship is their biggest win in Mavericks history. But, man, this one has to be up there. Certainly in the post-Dirk era, this is a whole new level for your Dallas Mavericks.
What I thought was don't get cocky. I didn't even want to, I kept seeing the score and the halftime, the Suns only had 27 points. Luka himself had 27 points. I'm like, things are going too well for me to jinx this right now. I'm just going to keep calm and carry on. I mean, thinking about how this series started with the Suns going up 2-0 quickly. For a reminder, those scores, the Suns won 121-114 that first game and 129-109. We were talking about how those didn't really even feel like playoff games because we're used to these, down the stretch, final minutes of the game, changing leads back and forth to finally coming to a winner. And this series was weird in that we didn't really have a lot of that. And then you look at this final game where the Mavericks just stomped them from the jump. And it was weird. We had another game 7 yesterday between the Bucks and the Celtics, and that one was another one of the same. So I'm hoping we get back to some Warriors, Grizzlies like matchups here as we move on to the conference finals now, but super happy for my Mavericks. MFFL, Mavs fan for life. We're moving on, Chris, just like I always knew we would.
I'm glad when you say MFFL, I'm glad you then say what it means. Mavs fan for life.
It's a little confusing.
You know, that the first couple of initials there, somebody go, what is she saying? So first times I saw that hashtag, I'm like, okay, whoa, what are they?
Inappropriate.
Whoa. Yeah, no, Mavs fan. Thank you. Mavs fans for life. And Shannon and Jeremy, and we'll bring Jeremy on board here in a sec. You know, I would have predicted both of those game sevens go the other way. I know Boston was at home, but Milwaukee was the defending champion. I didn't factor in Chris Middleton. They sure could have used him in this series, and you lose it in 7 games. Maybe Milwaukee wins it if they had Chris Middleton, who was out with injury. But still, you got Giannis. They're the defending champions. It is hard to knock out the defending champions, especially if they have Giannis, who is the Tim Duncan of the Milwaukee Bucks. But Boston rains 3-point shots. Boston, as you mentioned, decimates Milwaukee to eliminate them 109-81. But I would have probably said, and we weren't on the radio, but if we were on the radio before those games yesterday, Shannon, I would have said, all right, Milwaukee wins at Boston. And sadly, because I like the Mavericks, Phoenix will beat the Dallas Mavericks. And I want to say this to you, Shannon, and to Jeremy, both of you in your respective series with your teams. Jeremy, a Memphis Grizzlies fan, before John Morant was injured. Jeremy and you, Shannon, throughout your Maverick series was, well, no way we're going to win the series, but we're playing well, and maybe next year we get to get a few more. You got to be cocky. You got to be delusional. We're the Mavericks, damn it. We got Luka. We got the greatest player. And you say that anyway. We got the greatest player in the NBA, baby. Come on. We're going to win this series, and we're going to go on. We're going to beat the Golden State Warriors and go back to the finals.
Not until the shirts are printed.
Yeah, there you go. But as you said it earlier, Shannon, you quoted Han Solo from the original Star Wars. Don't get cocky. He said it to Luke Skywalker. Great kid. Don't get cocky. But I like cocky. And it's not really cockiness with me. It's delusion. It's like Cowboys, Spurs. We can do this. We're the Cowboys. I think we can go to the Super Bowl this year. How's that worked out since 1996?
Right.
So, yeah.
And again, like I only have, so for my mental well-being, I can't do that 365 days a year. I have to allow myself to limit that to just football season.
See, I can do it, but when my team tears my heart out, I then have to drink heavily. So it's probably not good for my liver. I go all in. I believe. I feel good. I'm looking for championships, and then I get my heart torn out. Let's check in with speaking of basketball, before we go to Jeremy, KARL Schoening, basketball savant, dude, eats, sleeps, breathes, and probably does a few other bodily functions. Basketball. He's going to join us at 8:05, less than 2 hours from now. And in a moment, we'll walk you through our 7:05 guest, Ann Hudson, who's all over television and radio in Austin. And now over the weekend is all over social media and TikTok with a viral video she shot at her son's Little League game with parents behaving badly. We'll walk you through that. We'll show you where you can find that, and we'll talk about that here coming up in just a little bit. But Jeremy KOLOK, you are an NBA super fan. Your thoughts on yesterday's 2 game sevens, both of them lopsided?
I think the play of basketball has been tremendous to this point in the playoffs. I think that this round we just concluded, I guess those are the last 2 game sevens. I think it was fantastic. I think it was phenomenal, even though we've had some blowouts, 2 yesterday. And Shannon, Chris, what about that man, Luka Doncic? I mean, he is that was his breakout, in my opinion, into, all right, this dude's top 3 in the league. Like, if you don't, it's almost like if you leave him out of that conversation now, it's disrespectful based on what I saw him do to the number 1 seed at home. And all I was thinking about was, if I don't know if you remember, if you saw the last game that the Suns won, their last home game, there at the end of the game, Luka had the ball in his hand, and this was in garbage time. The clock was running out, and Devin Book, he was just holding it up or whatever. I don't know if he was about to hand it to the ref or whatever. and Devin Booker like knocked the ball out of his hand and kind of like smacked him a little bit.
Mhm.
And the ball went flying, and Luka was just staring at him, and he said some sort of expletive under his breath or whatever. And I think he told the media, or when he was walking into the tunnel, and then like, a few minutes after that, once the game ends, he is saying something along the lines of, we'll see how they act when they're not up. You know what I mean? They act a certain way when they're up, but they're a completely different group. They act completely differently when they're not, having this level of success. So just wait. It was almost, he was just saying, just wait, y'all see, just y'all have your little moment now, because when we have our moment, it's not going to be so nice for y'all, and y'all are probably not going to handle it very well. Also, one more thing, did y'all catch that in the post-game press conference, Monty Williams, great Spur connection,
Love
the
him.
coach of the Phoenix Suns, he said that DeAndre Ayton played less than 20 minutes in that game last night in an elimination game at home. And he said that that was due to something along the lines of internal issues.
Uh-oh.
Something like that. Whatever
Wow,
that
I did
word
not
is.
see
Yeah.
that. We got to run that down. A couple of things about and I did see that moment. In fact, you may have sent it to us or posted it, Jeremy, where Devin Booker at the end of that game 6 just comes out of nowhere for no reason, game's ending, knocks the ball out of Luka Doncic's hands. Two things. One, don't poke the bear. You should have, we learned that from Michael Jordan and other great players. You don't poke the bear. Two, a bit of a punk move by Devin Booker. I'm not saying Devin Booker is a punk. I don't think he's a punk, but that's kind of a punk move. And that's Monty Williams, who you just mentioned, is part of the Greg Popovich coaching tree. And one of the rules is you don't make punk moves on or off the court, because they can come back to haunt you. And they certainly did in this case. Another thing, Shannon, I got to run it down. You may know more about this than I do. Boban is trending this morning. Apparently there was a post-game scuffle or something between the Suns and the Mavericks, and Boban, of all people, the friendly giant, Boban Marjanovic, is trending because he was upset. Shannon, what do you know about that situation?
Yeah, I'm still looking for the reason as to why that took place and why he was in the middle of it. But as we know, Boban, he's been appearing in movies. He's got a lot of commercials out there right now. He's just kind of seen more, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is in a way being used against him with players who aren't happy with their current situation. And Boban has kind of become an easy target because of how widely seen he is these days.
Yeah, we'll look closer at that. And Shannon, Jeremy, we can't talk about this without talking about Chris Paul. My God, the narrative continues. Chris Paul cannot win a championship game. These Phoenix Suns won 64 games. I'm going to have to go do a little research. They were the #1 overall seed in the NBA. They had the best record in the regular season with 64 wins. Mavericks had 52 regular season wins. So the Suns had a 12-game lead at the end of the regular season over the Mavericks in the Western Conference. They were 6 wins away from 70, the Phoenix Suns, and they get eliminated before the Western Conference Finals. I know the Spurs as a 1 seed got punked in the first round by the Memphis Grizzlies back in the day. I don't think they had quite won 64 games. Maybe they won around 60. I'll have to check it. But Shannon, to win 64, and so many of us said before we saw how good the Golden State Warriors could play in the playoffs, so many of us said, Phoenix Suns, it's like, these playoffs are going to be cute. They're going to be adorable, but nobody's going to stop the Phoenix Suns. And, is it Chris Paul? Is it the Phoenix Jinx? That franchise has had so many good teams over the years. Can you imagine if you're a Phoenix Suns fan and you've been so close so many times over the years with Steve Nash and others?
Yeah.
And here they go again, bowing out earlier than anybody expected.
Chris, it's the Kardashians.
Oh, you're
The
right.
second Devin Booker made that relationship official. I mean, Suns fans, you're right. They've gone through it, and they felt like they had something, and then he started dating a Kardashian. He pokes the bear, as you say, by poking the ball out of Luka Doncic's hands, and essentially the Kardashian curse just came in swinging last night.
Wow.
That's just really what it comes down to. And
You brought that up weeks ago when these playoffs began. Keep an eye out for the Kardashian curse.
And for
And there it is.
For Chris Paul, I feel for the guy because he's so universally liked. Like, you just almost want to give him like an honorary, everybody gets a trophy. Like, here's yours. Great job. You contributed a lot to the league. Sorry, you never had a team that could get you there. I mean, and maybe it's because he's also in that Suns uniform. He's the Charles Barkley of this generation. He just can't get it done.
And as we know, and Charles Barkley laughs it off on that TNT panel. But Shaq and Kenny the Jet Smith, I know exactly. But I mean, it hurts. Shaq and Kenny the Jet Smith often say, "Hey, how many titles do you have?" Shaq and Kenny the Jet Smith have won titles. When that's really not cool. But it's gotta hurt. I think of John Stockton and Karl Malone with the Utah Jazz. Malone even went ring chasing, joined the Lakers. Kobe and the Lakers late in his career, but. I believe Chris Paul is 37. He did say after the game he has no plans to retire. He's going to run it back for another season. But as we know, it is tough to win championships in this league, and you are rarely going to win 64 games in this league and have the number one seed throughout the playoffs. And it was a golden opportunity squandered by the Phoenix Suns, and not so much squandered. The Dallas Mavericks just came in and kicked their butts last night in game number 7. So we'll talk more about it. As I mentioned, KARL Schoening, basketball savant, great source for all things NBA. And when we talk to KARL at 8:05, we'll also, for Spurs fans, I'm wearing my Spurs gear this morning because I'm looking forward to next month's NBA draft. And the Spurs have 3 first-round draft picks. I want to get some names from KARL Schoening a little bit later this morning, names we should keep an eye on that could be realistic players who could wind up in the silver and black in a Spurs uniform. Speaking of the Spurs, Shannon and Jeremy, over the weekend, Spurs release a new video in front of what is upcoming their 50th season, and they have a brand new 50th season Spurs logo, which I thought was very cool. It's not only silver and black and has the big 50 in the middle, but you see 5 gold stars, and of course the gold representing and the stars representing the NBA Finals and the NBA Championship. Shannon, your thoughts on the new Spurs logo?
I love it. The Astros, they're celebrating an anniversary season as well. So we're seeing that patch on the side of their jerseys all season long. And, 50, that's a big deal. And I love it. I love the gold anecdotes and the, homage to those championships. I wonder if they're going to do a Fiesta version though, too, because I just love those colors. But that's going to be huge for next year, and good for them for releasing it when they did, right? I mean, kind of disrupt the news a little bit with everything being NBA playoffs to say, wait a minute, we're still here and we've got a big year coming and it starts now. Jeremy
KOLOK, your thoughts on the new Spurs logo?
I like them. I think they're appropriate for the occasion. They're very Spurs-like, and I think they're very respectful for our year that should be noted, should be celebrated, in my opinion.
And as a guy who was there year number 1 in the Hemisphere Arena, when I saw the big 50 on that logo, 50 years, I thought to myself, God, I'm old. Get off my lawn. We are dropping like flies, man. Not a lot of people still around who were there 50 years ago to see the Spurs in season number 1 at the Hemisphere Arena. I see another one of them on our live video feed, Steve Duraco, who I used to ride the bus from the Methodist Hospital. We were too young to drive, so we'd have our parents drop us off at the Methodist Hospital on the north side, take the bus down to it didn't even go all the way to the Hemisphere Arena. We had to get off on Market Street and walk a few blocks to the Hemisphere Arena. So lots more coming up. Coming up, not only the high five play of the day, but we will preview our guest at 7:05, Ann Hudson, who's not only on TV in Austin, you also hear her on 96.7 KISS FM and KASE 101. Do they say Case or do they say KASE in Austin, Shannon? What's the hip Austin way to say Case?
Case 101 is typically
Case 101, thank you. KASE. I got it, the Austin people going, dude, come on, you San Antonian, get it right.
More old
anyway,
school.
I know. Thank you. Ann Hudson, she shot a video at her son's Little League game, and parents began behaving badly We'll direct you to that video, and we'll hear from Ann Hudson herself. That video went viral over the weekend. We'll talk about that and more. High Five Play of the Day coming up. Shannon Salty Shakedown, sports history, sports birthdays. We will let you know what our poll question is this morning coming up and how you can talk back to us on the free iHeartRadio app. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK makes the whole show go. We are with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. O.M. Garcia, good morning. Tracy Bogert. Rick Barry and the Warriors went down courtside to ask Billy Paltz, Kobe Dietrich, and George Gervin for autographs, and they obliged. That was the big. I was talking to somebody this weekend, about the Spurs in the ABA and at the arena, and the biggest thing why we became super fans, those players were so accessible and so cool to us. It was just Hector Gomez was there. Yeah, we got to get together, Hector. You, me, Steve Duraco, David Munoz, Roy Flores, people who were there season 1 and are still alive to talk about it. It's pretty amazing. Jorge, that's what we did. Season 1, the cheapest ticket was $2. Steve Duraco and I got half season tickets. ABA had an 84-game schedule. That meant 42 home games. We couldn't afford all 42, but we could afford a half season ticket, which was 21 at $2 each. It was $42 for a half season ticket up in the rafters. And then we would just walk down and go sit in the front row many, many nights because there were open seats in the front row at the Hemisphere Arena. I got to go check something. I'll be right back.
Jake from State Farm here. Some other car insurance companies are increasing their rates in your state. But don't worry, if your bill's gone up, switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. Like the good neighbor, State Farm is better. Call or visit statefarm.com for a quote today.
When you woke up this morning, before you knocked over your water, feeling around for your glasses, or stumbled to the bathroom to put in your contacts, stepping on every small toy along the way. What did you see? A world that was dull and fuzzy? Instead, what if when you woke up, you saw a world that was bright and clear? It's a possibility with LASIK at LASIK Plus. We've performed over 2 million LASIK procedures nationwide. That's a lot of happy patients, thanks to the expert medical teams at LASIK Plus. LASIK only takes minutes, with most patients back to normal activities the next day. So don't wait. Make your mornings brighter with the help of LASIK Plus. Right now at LASIK Plus, get 20% off LASIK in May. That can be over $900 off when treating both eyes, plus guaranteed financing. Visit mylasicoffer.com. That's mylasicoffer.com. The patient's choice for LASIK.
Well, yeah, but again, like anything else, if you are used to it, you get used to it.
Yeah.
So
You sit over there, okay?
yeah, I tend to be here. So how long have you been at the Express News?
I've been there since 93.
93. Wow. I knew Rick Hunter
Yeah.
pretty well. He was great. I loved him.
He was a colleague of mine.
Yeah. And as you know, a different breed of cat. I love that he I loved his photos. You know, he, as you know everything about him, I'm sure. I love that he loved Dia de los Muertos. He had just amazing photos of Dia de los Muertos. And I had an online show called Talk Now SA in like 2013, 24. Anyway, like 8 months before he died, I had him on the radio. And it was actually video because it was online. And I interviewed him for about 40 minutes, and he was great. He was just, and he brought photos. So we were able to show all of his photos on the air. It was so cool. So if you have any instructions for me, let me know. Other than that, I'm just going to do my thing. So, okay. 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 So what's happening in New Braunfels today?
Growth, you know, how it's going up pretty quick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had a photo shoot up there.
I
Okay.
do.
Okay.
It's gonna be some business owner.
Okay.
A bar owner.
Okay.
When I was in high school, man, I used to hang out with the guy who had a radio show.
Yeah.
KLAR was this.
Yeah.
You know, we'd be there overnight, and you know, Freebird would be played in it.
Oh, that was like I heard that was one of the favorite songs of radio DJs. That and Inagata Davida was another long one. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, so we've got a live video feed. So we and Shannon she'll come on in a moment. She's usually in Austin, but she's in Houston this week. So this goes out onto Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. So
on the left?
That's Jeremy, and he's right across the hall.
He's the producer.
Yeah, he's the producer, and he runs the board. So he's the engineer. Also talks to us on air. Let's see. Eric Winchester, $42 in 1973 is worth $273.48 today. I was telling people it's the 50th anniversary of the Spurs this season coming up. I was 13 years old when they came to the Hemisphere Arena in 1973. And my friend and I were too young to drive. So our parents would take us to the Methodist Hospital. We take the bus. Bus wouldn't even go to the Hemisphere Arena. There was no bus stop. It would stop on Market Street in front of the Hertzberg Circus building, which used to have the elephant out front. It would stop there, and we'd get up, and we'd have to walk over to the Hemisphere Arena. So, but yeah, I saw the Spurs unveiled a new logo over the weekend with a big 50 on it. And I'm going, okay, A, that's a cool logo, but B, that means I'm very old since I was around back then. So.
Yeah. I didn't cover them there. I covered them at the Alamo Dome.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were there because after Rick Hunter passed away, I've got a photo book from the Express News, you know, what that they made about the championship in '99. So all you guys' credits are on each photo. And there's some cool, I think Rick Hunter had a cool David Robinson and Tim Duncan together walking down the court. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool guy.
He was. So do they still send you to Spurs games?
You know, because they ship me to day shift, you know?
Okay.
So I don't cover sports at all. Okay. I used to work Sunday to Thursday, so I used to cover the Cowboys too.
Oh, that's great.
You know, home games.
Yeah.
You know?
That's tremendous.
And Spurs, I mean, I covered all the playoffs, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we had a good run, you know? It's very different now, you know, with money, obviously.
Yeah. Well, and I was thinking about this too. And you know, so many people, Richard Oliver and
Yeah.
so many people who were there. Jeannie Jekyll left, and now she's kind of a freelancer. But I was thinking about this photographers, because in the internet age, it's so visual. Everybody wants a photographer, so it's kind of good job security to be a photographer.
Well, yeah, but also everybody's a photographer.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, now that's a good.
It's like,
You're right. If somebody wants to do it on the cheap, they could. Yeah.
iPhone.
Yep. I didn't think about that. I don't know if you want me to look at it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here we come. All right. So we're going to be on the air until about 6:54 here.
Back. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
The original MJ. No, I'm not talking about Mac Jones, quarterback of the New England Patriots, or some guy named Michael Jordan. Before all of them, Michael Jackson, baby, the gloved one. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. Lots of ways that you can join us, including the live video feed. Lots of people joining us on the live video feed. You can access it via Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. Of course, there is the free iHeartRadio app. You can talk back to us. You listen. We're always crystal clear on the iHeartRadio app, which you can listen via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. Press that microphone button at the bottom and leave us a message on the free iHeartRadio app. And Shannon Salty Sweeney, if you hear the sound of photos being snapped, Jerry Lara, one of the greatest photographers of the San Antonio Express News. He's been around the Express News in San Antonio since 1993. He shot a lot of Spurs games, including the 99 championship and others, and Cowboys. He shot Cowboys home games. He's on the sidelines shooting Cowboys. For some reason, he's shooting my photo. I think they're demonstrating why I have a face for radio at the San Antonio Express News this morning. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah, he's a cool guy. He's and I love that I always notice in the newspaper and online, you'll see a cool photo, whether it's sports or not. You go, damn, that's a great photo. And you look at the byline, and a lot of these guys and gals, they're, you remember their names because you just see the great photography they do. So
Yeah.
Jerry Lara, welcome into the studio. Big shout out to him. Shannon Salty Sweeney, before we do the high five play of the day, first, the poll question, pretty easy poll question, and I think it's the key question of the day. What do we got?
Yeah, the NBA Conference Finals matchups are now set, with the Boston Celtics taking on the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Golden State Warriors. So with 4 teams left, we have thrown them all up onto our poll question and asking which of these teams will win it all. An early lead is the Boston Celtics at 43%, 31% going Dallas Mavericks. I think they're the hot name this morning. 25% saying the Golden State Warriors, and no one believing in the Miami Heat.
Well, and Shannon, I got to go Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
I just, given their playoff experience, Steve Kerr now back from COVID protocols. And I mean, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, not to mention, Jordan Poole and all the other people they've added over the years. It's going to be fascinating. I will pull for your Dallas Mavericks, by the way. I have Warriors fatigue. I've seen this movie before. Warriors winning the NBA championship. We don't need to see it again. And Spurs fans will hate me for this, but when the Spurs are out of it, I pull for other Texas teams. I'm all about the great state of Texas, and I like Luka. So I am jumping on your Mavericks bandwagon, Shannon, even though it might be a bumpy ride against the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I think you have to think about it in the way we do with college football, right? When it's the postseason, you've got to cheer for the teams that are within your conference, because that makes your conference overall look better. And so for that, Mavs and Spurs, their battle that they've got going on between those two, that rivalry, For that to keep building up, you've got to see success in the postseason from both teams. So it helps that the Mavs are going this far, I think, in a way, for Spurs fans.
Coming up just after the High Five play of the day, we'll preview our 7:05 guest, Ann Hudson from Case 101 and 96.7 KISS FM in Austin. She also does a lot of television in Austin. She shot a video at her son's Little League game, parents behaving badly. It went viral. We'll talk about it, and we'll talk about it with Ann Hudson just after the top of the hour. But right now, it's time for our High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. High Five has everything you need, big screen TVs. They've got food, drinks, food specials, drink specials, games you can play, bowling, laser tag, zombie dodgeball, all kinds of great stuff. High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Check them out. Shannon Salty Sweeney, who is deserving of a high five this morning?
All right, I don't know that this will ever happen again, but we're giving a high five to the Oklahoma football program because they have signed an early front runner for name of the year, name of the season in quarterback General Booty.
8 minutes left in this segment.
My immediate reaction is, okay, why did these parents, he's already going to have this last name Booty. Why would they do that to him? Apparently they had a bit of a military obsession, but Chris, he comes from a long line of athletes in his family. His father played wide receiver at LSU. His uncle played quarterback at LSU and played in the major leagues. And then his other uncle played quarterback at the University of Southern California for Pete Carroll.
John David Booty.
Are you familiar?
I'm very familiar with John David Booty. In fact, I interviewed him when he was a quarterback for the Houston Texans. He was a backup quarterback for Matt Schaub. See, when I saw this story, Shannon, I'm familiar with John David Booty, but I thought these can't be related. And again, the name General Booty. Our family last name is Booty. We're going to name our son General Booty. Heck of it. It's my new favorite name in college athletics.
Well, on his name after the signing, he is quoted as saying, "Obviously, my name's an attention grabber and people like to do headlines with it, but I like to show people with my play that I can back it up." This is what he told the Dallas Morning News just 2 years ago. Now, interesting about him, we talked about his long line of football talent in the family. Well, he didn't have it as easy because I guess they were a military family, so he moved around quite a bit. He attended 4 different high schools throughout his high school career, 2 in California, 2 in Texas. That makes it hard to, get things going with a team to earn a starting quarterback position. So he played for junior college in Tyler in 1 game against Navarro College. And for those that watch cheer on Netflix, that would be that college. He had like over 550 yards passing and 8 touchdowns. So he does have some skill. He just needs to go somewhere where he can display it. So we'll see if he can battle it out. I believe Oklahoma signed a top 300 quarterback to their current class. So packed room up there in Oklahoma, but excited for what's to come for the season when people have fun with his name.
Well, a couple of things. Speaking of having fun with his name, Shannon, General Booty is his name. If he ever does get the starting role at OU, I'm going to be personally excited because we will then officially have OU's booty call. Whenever General Booty plays quarterback, it'll be a booty call. And Shannon,
Perfect.
I see NIL possibilities for General Booty, including Preparation H, hemorrhoid cream. He could just, on his social media, hey, I'm General Booty. I like my booty feeling good. That's why whenever I have some issues, I reach for the Preparation H. There's anything booty related, Shannon. Booty wipes. I mean, this could be huge for General Booty.
What about like Pirates Booty? That's a snack.
Yes. Oh, see, that's a whole different kind of booty. But yeah. And maybe, if Johnny Depp survives this Amber Heard trial, maybe he can partner with Johnny Depp for some kind of pirate booty, NIL.
And forget Shaq with the General Insurance. Just go ahead and get General himself involved with that.
Jeremy KOLOK, Oklahoma, OU is your arch enemy because you're an Oklahoma State person. Your thoughts on General Booty at quarterback signing with the Sooners? Are you disappointed that your beloved Oklahoma State Cowboys did not make a play for General Booty?
No, my initial reaction was I was disappointed. I was like, we let them get general booty. You know what I mean? And I was like, I don't know. I was kind of annoyed that we're gonna have to face this dude for 2 to 4 years potentially, or if he ever gets the starting job. That's annoying, and it's like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a level of attention that they're getting that I'm angry that they're getting. I'm like, why couldn't General Booty go literally anywhere else in the nation? Of course, he's gonna end up in Norman, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Of course, that's where General Booty decides to go attend school.
But Jeremy, just think, when OSU beats them, the headline will be Booty gets spanked.
I mean, I guess, yeah. Where there's a lot, the realm of possibilities is endless. But
Yeah,
what
I
if
mean,
they
y'all
beat
have
us? What if they
did
beat
y'all have
us?
like
Then
a
what
corn
is
dog or
literally-
something?
But yeah, we had the corn dog. That was a rough year. That was a transition year. He was a fifth-year quarterback. That ain't no General Booty, I'll tell you that.
Well, we are going to be on Booty Watch all season long, Shannon and Jeremy. We will keep an eye on General Booty. Military family, do you name your kid General? I mean, that's so much to live up to. You know, you could name him Major, you could name him Sergeant Booty, but General, because I mean, if he goes into the military and he doesn't achieve the rank of general, you know, hi everybody, I'm Captain General Booty. It's like, why are you captain? Your name is General. Shouldn't you be I mean,
Yeah.
I just think that's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid to name him General, even whether your name's Booty or not. And then Booty, it's like, oh my, because you know, John David Booty was no, you know, it was like, okay, that's an unusual name. But as soon as you slap General on the last name Booty, then we got issues.
You got to give him something basic. That almost sounds, you know, like girls like to play the what's your stripper name?
Yes.
Right? That is basically, that's it.
Now your stripper
Booty.
name, your stripper name, let me see if I have this right, Shannon. It's your first pet and the street you grew up on. Is that correct?
Yes.
I think it is. So my stripper name is Peppy Ben-Hur. I grew up on a street called Ben-Hur Drive in San Antonio. My first pet was a Chihuahua named Peppy. So my stripper name is Peppy Ben-Hur. Shannon, before we get yours, Jeremy, what is your stripper name? First pet and the street you grew up on.
My combination of what you just described for my stripper name would be, I would go by Dusty Fletcher.
Dusty Fletcher. I like that. I'd bring a lot of dollar bills to the club to see Dusty Fletcher. Shannon, got to ask you, your official stripper name.
It would be Bridget Mesa.
Bridget Mesa. Sounds more like an actress. Bridget Mesa.
I mean, they are actresses, are they not?
That's true.
They're just live performance actresses.
Yeah, I ran into a girl from what was the boyfriend of a girl from my high school in Los Angeles, and we were like working out at a gym, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm dating a girl from San Antonio. Her name is blank. I won't say her name on the air." So I'm with a friend of mine, and we knew she was a stripper, and we go, "So and so, the stripper," and he goes, "She's not a stripper. She's a dancer. He wanted to kick our butts because I called his girlfriend a stripper, and he goes, no, she's a dancer, not a stripper." So they're very particular about their name, apparently. They're entertainers. They're dancers, apparently.
I mean, I've seen J-Lo's Hustlers movie, and that, you know, mad respect. Get money, get paid.
Yeah. All right. Shannon, coming up, and we're up against it, but what a story. Quick 20-second capsule on this Ann Hudson video.
Yeah, Ann Hudson, as you mentioned, 96.7 KISS FM and Case 101 here in Austin. Her sons play Little League, and they were at a game, and parents being irate. And as we know, there's an umpire shortage, and an umpire was going off at the parents, and there was a lot of back and forth. She shot a video, put it on TikTok. That video now has 4 million views. Someone took her TikTok video, then shared it to Twitter. It was at 1.9 million views when I woke up this morning. So she is blowing up. I don't know if it's something she ever expected, but excited to talk to her about what happened. And I did text her yesterday, and she was actually heading to another baseball game.
All right. Ann Hudson's going to walk us through this story next. Don't go anywhere. Sports update at the top of the hour. It's the Chris Duel Show.
So interesting, man.
Yeah.
The way you can, to me, it's kind of when you mute her to talk,
Yeah.
it throws me off.
Oh,
so
okay.
You're so used to it. You know?
I was doing that so you could hear her. Because if I didn't do that, you wouldn't hear him or her.
Yeah.
So I did that so you could kind of get a
it's
sense of
interesting. Yeah.
what we're talking
Because
about.
usually you do everything too.
Yeah. If you would need to have headphones on to hear what we're doing. So yeah.
What a job.
It's fun.
Yeah. No.
Except for the hours, because I'm not a morning
Is that the
person.
hardest part?
It is. Yeah. Because I used to do the afternoons from like 4 to 7. And because I'm an afternoon and I'm wide awake, my brain works better. Here I'm guzzling coffee and iced tea to try to get the caffeine going.
Sure.
It's great.
So
But
your segments are what, 10 minutes?
they used to be. They're a little longer now. So like the next one is the next one starts at 7:05 and it goes to 7:27. So that's a 22-minute segment.
I'm gonna stick around to listen to her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll show you this. Let me see if I can find that video. So yeah, these parents are yelling at a ref, and let me see if I can find it. I think I can. Okay. Let's see. There it is. I'm gonna have to unmute this. That's not going. Okay, there it goes. I think that I've got to mute that site, and then I've got to unmute that site. Okay, this will work out. So they're screaming at this ref, and they're like disparaging the ref over calls, and he unfortunately can't hear it that well.
That's okay.
See if that replays.
He already heard you. I'm gonna forfeit the team.
So he forfeits the game, and they're screaming at him. Yeah, just another incident of parents out of control.
Yeah. Oh, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
They almost want you don't want to be a ref, you know.
I'm hearing more and more of them are umpire. Thank you. More and more of them are. Somebody said, "Do you mean umpire?" More and more of them are giving it up, from what I hear.
Yeah.
So, you want to grab a water?
No,
or,
I'm fine.
You're okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm fine. I had coffee earlier.
Okay.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So where was this in Austin?
This was in Austin. Yeah, she's out of Austin.
Yeah.
Thank you, John Williams, for the baseball lesson. I appreciate it. John Williams, there are no referees in baseball, only umpires. Thank you, John. I did not know that. Thank you for the clarification.
That was on me.
At 6:57. No, I said it. I said it on the radio. That was me.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, thank you for that. We'll make sure we get her out. Okay. Good morning, Beth Settle. Good morning, Luisa Alanis. Good morning, Jason Paniagua. What's cool about the live video feed is occasionally there's a Spurs fan in Tokyo, Japan. His name is Taro Kotani. So he'll come in here sometimes. We get a guy from Australia. His name is Brad George. I always tell people when I first got into radio at WOAI, like in 1997, if we get a call from like New Braunfels, we go, whoa, people are listening and that's cool. Or Austin or McAllen. And, now you've got people sometimes listening to you from around the world, which is crazy.
But they do it's online, right?
Yeah,
So
it's online.
They're watching your
Yeah,
video.
yes.
Because then you can even listen to stations online now.
That's true. It's so cool. Yeah. So, I mean, anything you want to listen to.
Yeah. I got a life-size picture of Boban.
That's so cool.
We were going to use it for the Spurs section that we had.
Yeah.
And they were going to put pieces of it, and then you would put it together.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And so they present, but this is the first thing.
Wow.
So
Okay.
So I kept it.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad you.
It was my picture. You know?
I'm glad somebody got it. That's yeah.
It's an actual photograph. It's incredible. Man.
I was so sorry when he left, and the story is.
Yeah, I heard you talking about it.
Yeah, he when he left the Spurs, he didn't want to leave because the Spurs were paying him something like $4 million a year, and the Detroit Pistons at the time. Now he's with the Mavericks, but the Pistons offered him like $12 million a year. But he loved the Spurs and he was loyal. It was his first NBA team, and he said, "I want to stay here." And Pop said, "You got to go get paid. You need to go get your money for your family." So
that's great.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's another reason why I know a lot of Spurs fans don't like the Mavericks, and I get it. But I wouldn't mind seeing Boban get a championship just because he's so cool.
Yeah. You think is there a possibility?
I think it's going to be tough. Nobody thought they'd beat Phoenix, but they're going to play the Golden State Warriors now, and they got Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson. They've won so many championships. They're really.
That'll probably be the actual championship game.
Yeah. So it's going to be, but they're down to the Final Four. So it's Golden State versus Dallas, and it's Boston versus Miami on the other side. So those two winners will play in the finals. Yeah, Haas Holding saying back then WOAI was called the blowtorch. If you hit Austin, yeah, the 50,000 watt blowtorch. Yeah. Well, and then I was doing hurricane coverage, like in 1999, at WOAI overnight. They had me on from like midnight to 5 a.m. to like talk to people. And it was Judd Ashmore Judd Ashmore got in the WOAI van and he volunteered. It was his idea. I want to go driving into the hurricane. He was a madman. But what was crazy was because it's 50,000 watts, a friend of mine, his sister was in Iowa, and it's like midnight, and they're going through their radio dial, and she's from San Antonio. And she goes, she heard me say my name, and she goes, "Is that Chris Duel on the radio?" And the kid I grew up with in the neighborhood. And that was crazy because and I used to live in Los Angeles, and sometimes we'd drive at night back to San Antonio, and sometimes in like Arizona and New Mexico, you could hear WOAI at night. So it was cool.
The oldies radio.
Yeah. Yeah, Jorge says, "I'm listening from Monterrey, Mexico." That's very cool.
That's a good sound too. Good food.
Yeah, I was there many years ago. So now you guys changed. You left the big old building. So where's the new building now?
We rented some space at the light building.
Okay.
We're supposed to move in April.
Okay.
May, but the elevator hasn't passed inspection.
Wow. Well, and I would imagine, like supply chain issues and all that stuff. Wow. Okay.
But we're about to move in.
Okay.
It's a floor and a half.
Yeah.
Is what I heard that they rented in that space.
Okay. Wow. I can't believe you guys left that. That building was so iconic.
Just the electricity used here, though, man.
Oh, really? Okay.
It was just a money pit.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
It'll turn into something interesting.
Yeah.
Let's be a hotel or apartments.
Yeah, it looks like it could be a hotel.
Yeah.
And you would think, although apartments now more and more people are living downtown than they used to, but you would think with all the tourism, if they could make that a hotel, I mean, my gosh, you're
right
so close to the Alamo and downtown. And the word the word is that people are saying the next time the Spurs build an arena, they want to be downtown.
That'd be so cool.
I'm so disappointed that it's, they had to do that deal to appease the county and the city. So that's why they put it where they put it by Freeman. But gosh, it should be downtown. That would be tremendous.
Or even a baseball field downtown.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been to cities where they have them downtown. It's so unique.
Yeah. I agree. And again, with a tourism, I always believe San Antonio could support Major League Baseball. They were thinking about putting a baseball field in AAA, but first, I think we would support it, and almost like Las Vegas, because we're a tourism city. If you had a Major League Baseball team here, probably or AAA, but I prefer Major League. I think you'd still get tourists coming in saying, "Oh, let's go to the baseball stadium's right here. Let's go see a Major League Baseball game." Oh, yeah. I got to remember she needs to be out at 15 after. So so we're going to go. It's coming up on 7:06. This segment will end at 7:27. And this guest we have, Ann, she has to be out by 7:15. So here we come. Here we go.
This is the Chris Duel Show.
I have to keep the music. Facebook will bounce us if we play more than 15 seconds of music on Facebook. So that's why I do that.
Now, Chris Duel.
Welcome in on a manic Monday, May 16th. It's the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist, making the show go. We are all over the NBA playoffs. 2 big game 7s yesterday and last night. We talked a lot about them in the 6 o'clock hour. We will talk more about them 1 hour from now. KARL SCHOENING, our resident basketball savant and go-to guy for all things basketball. We'll talk hoops and more with him, including upcoming NBA draft prospects for the San Antonio Spurs. A little bit later this hour, Shannon's Salty Shakedown, sports history and sports birthdays coming up just after 7:35. But Shannon and I have been talking about it. A video that went viral, and I didn't realize till Shannon just told us, over 4 million views, as Ann Hudson, who is all over television and radio in Austin, including Case 101 and 96.7 KISS FM in Austin. She's at a son's Little League baseball game, and then the parents began behaving badly, which happens a lot these days at Little League games and at youth sporting events. And we'll get the rest of the information from Ann. She is on board with us right now. Ann Hudson, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning.
Thanks so much. Yeah, great to talk to you, Ann. Walk us through what was going on at that Little League game and what made you say, hey, man, I need to pull out my camera and get this on video. What was happening before your eyes?
Well, first and foremost, my husband was out of town, and this is a playoff game for our 14-year-old son. So every time he was up to bat, I was filming it to send it to my husband to kind of just keep him looped in on the game because he was hating he had to miss it. And so I just had my phone out for that reason, and my son got done outing, so I just had my phone out. And then all I know is I didn't really see what happened. I just saw out of nowhere the ump walked over to the opposing team's dugout, and you could tell that there was words happening. And then I hear the ump saying, if you don't quit it, I'm going to have to kick you out of here. I'm going to have to kick you out of the game if you don't quit it. I could not hear what the other coach was saying because, again, I was behind home plate. The coach was in the dugout. And then the next thing I know, he was like, you're out. And then that's when those parents started yelling things. Like, I don't know if you played the audio from the video, but there was this one lady in particular that was like, "You just kicked out a firefighter." Like, she had said that multiple times before I started recording. And then after he kicked that first coach out, that's when the fans kind of started going off. And then walked back over to kind of continue the game. Well, the parents wouldn't stop. So at that time, walked back over to the dugout and was like, "I need another coach. I need you guys to get these fans under control, or I'm going to have to forfeit this game, and you need to communicate that to the fans." And so then he started walking back towards the plate to continue the game, and the parents are continuing to kind of hackle. And then that's where it recorded. I was like, "Oh my God, this is really getting intense." And I mean, it took me a minute to even realize like the craziness that was happening. And then that's where the video picks up, and you hear what happened after that, where he ended up forfeiting the game because his parents would not quit. Now, I was like a little bit late to the game, like 20 minutes late, and then this happened about 20 minutes into when I was there. And I do know that I think other stuff happened before I got there with those parents, because at one point, the woman that you heard in the video yelling, "He's a firefighter." Well, earlier in the game, the ump had to come over because every time their team would hit a pop-up, she was yelling, I got it, like trying to call the ball to throw off my son's team for So the ump had come over earlier, and he was like, "Hey, whoever's yelling that needs to stop it." And he was very firm and direct. And in my mind, I was like, whoa, that was like, but I think there was other stuff that had happened before that. So I think that there was some escalating before I even got there. I'm actually going to have a follow-up today. Later this afternoon, I'm going to post a video. I am sitting down with the umpire to get his perspective. And this is a very last point now. And if you even read the comments on my TikTok video that went viral, which if you haven't seen it, it's on TikTok, and the username is HUDSON. But if you read all the comments, like, they are 98% of people saying, parents are a problem in Little League Baseball. And I just think it's something that we need to like bring attention to. And obviously parents need to reset how they act at these games. My kids have been playing baseball for 6 years. I've never personally seen anything like this. I've heard about crazy like parents at baseball games and, that type of thing, but I've never personally sit, and this is the very first time.
Uh-oh, did we lose Ann? We might have lost Ann there, Shannon. Okay. Well, there you are.
Oh, did you lose me?
Yeah, we have you now. Go ahead. We got you now.
Okay. I was just saying I want to bring it, I think we need to use this time to like, for parents to really pay attention and maybe reevaluate the way they conduct themselves at these events. Because if it's this big of a problem, if you look at over 20,000 comments on that video, 95% are parents saying that parents are the problem. So it's just something we need to like think about, because at the end of the day, it's really sad that was a playoff game and it got ended because of these parents that would not respect that umpire, who I think he's in his early 20s. He's young, but he's out there, and he's apparently been an ump for like 6 years. He's one of the best ones, and it just clearly there was just a complete lack of respect for that ump and the calls that he was making, and I just couldn't believe it escalated how it did.
Well, and unruly fans and unruly parents seem to be coming out of the woodwork now that folks are back in ballparks and back in the arenas. And that mixed with the umpire shortage, I think it really hurts the kids overall, those that are actually playing the games, especially when it comes to, having to forfeit a game. Now, when we were texting yesterday, you said you were heading back to the ballpark. Did anyone notice you because of the viral video, or did anyone say anything, or how did things escalate to where you felt maybe I need a part two?
Yes, 100%. Because that was actually the final game. After that game got forfeited, our team, advanced on, which they were winning anyways. Which made this whole thing even more confusing. But yes, they definitely brought up the viral video, and mainly my son's coach brought it up as they were doing the award ceremony after the game. He was just like, "This went completely viral after that crazy game the other night," and yeah, he definitely was like, "Hannah Hudson's here, and she had it on film," and So yes, they all definitely know. And I've had a lot of parents from that town that team came from reaching out to me saying that there's a history there of some like questionable behavior towards the umps. I don't know. I mean, obviously that's, just parents that have been reaching out of concern. That was the Johnson City Eagles, and I feel like that, the town's not like happy that they're being represented that way. So, I just hate that the kids were impacted. I know my son was super disappointed. He was just like, so ridiculous, that happened. And that's the example for those kids. That's just the unfortunate part.
And we will look for that follow-up video later today on TikTok at Hudson Ann. We will certainly look for that. And my goodness, what a story. And sadly, this is so common in youth sports and in Little League. Maybe some people will learn from this and behave a little bit better. Ann Hudson from 96.7 KISS FM and Case 101 in Austin. And thank you so much for taking the time this morning. We look forward to the follow-up video. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a good morning.
All right, Ann Hudson and Shannon. Crowd goes wild. Shannon and Jeremy, and we'll direct you, our listeners and viewers, where they can watch that video, Shannon. But let's listen to the video. And again, this is audio only. On the back end of this, Shannon will tell you where you can look at this video. But this is the moment when the parents are yelling at the ref, and the ref ultimately says, I'm gonna forfeit this game if you don't shut up, and they wouldn't. So the umpire, I keep saying ref, umpire in Little League Baseball, the umpire forfeits the game because of the ridiculous parents. Here it is.
He already heard you. I'm gonna forfeit the team. So shut up. Okay, it's over. That boy, huh? Feel better? I feel fine. You feel okay? You didn't again to your kid. Why? Exactly. Because you want to argue balls and strikes in a Little League game? You walked up like a man to you. And this guy's a firefighter who protects students.
Parents behaving badly. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, where's the easiest way for somebody to go and find that video?
Yeah, so Ann Hudson is her name, but her social accounts, Instagram, Twitter, and that TikTok where the video was originally posted is at Hudson Ann. That's Ann with an E, so go check those out. It's interesting, Chris. I sent you and Jeremy the Twitter version, which you can see it's Ann's video because it has her watermark on it, but someone by the name of Trent posted it to Twitter. That video is approaching 2 million views, and Trent, who yesterday when I checked had 400 followers, now has over 2,000, and so he's kind of made himself a star off the back of Ann's video. It's just wild because we see a lot of these things happen and we talk about them obviously on the show, but for that to happen so locally and with someone we know to be there in attendance and for her child to be affected because of it, it's just crazy.
And Jeremy, what do you think? I mean, we see stories like this all the time. And in this case, I didn't realize till Ann told us it was a playoff game. So one of these teams, even though Ann's son's team was probably going to win anyway, you don't want to see any game, much less a playoff game, end like this. Do you think Little League and maybe youth sports in general need to have some kind of guidelines, maybe a sign out there and maybe a no tolerance policy? If a parent is getting too interfering and even loud or vulgar or ultimately violent, there's got to be a way to limit this or stop this.
Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, it's societal issues, it's and all that good stuff. But I feel like, and maybe this is just a random connection I made in my head, but I feel like there needs to be a discrepancy between like an NBA referee that's getting yelled at by James Harden or whatever, right? And on that stage, and they're both getting paid a hefty sum, and that's both of their careers, and that's worked out within the the boundaries of the NBA. There needs to be a huge discrepancy between that and youth sports, because those referees don't have to do that. They're surely not being compensated enough for that, especially to deal with what we saw and heard in that video. And it's just, I don't understand why there's like these parents have this entitlement that why? What's the point? These people are there for you and your kids so that we can have a contest here.
And Shannon, go ahead.
Well, I'm curious because, like, I feel like these parents might be the generation of when they played youth sports. Their games would be fine, but then they get back in the car, right? And dad is like, "Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?" They're getting, and in their mind, they're like, "Well, because the ref didn't call it or the other team." So it's almost like now they have their own kids. They think their kids, every one of their children, is the next greatest thing, and they're now in the stands. And instead of taking it out on their kids in the way that they grew up experiencing, they're now putting all that blame and effort into the opposing team and whoever is in charge of running that game.
Well, and wasn't it 1 or 2 weeks ago, Shannon, you did the story, the umpire at a softball game gets punched in the face and had the huge black eye.
Yeah, and she was a sub.
Wow.
She was a sub umpire.
It's just, it's stunning to me. And again, I go back to, this was bad before the pandemic, but Shannon and Jeremy, something happened in this country during the pandemic. More fights on airlines, on flights, more road rage. We've heard more road rage shootings up, especially in the city of Houston. Speaking of shootings, my God, if you just look at what happened over the weekend in Buffalo and other cities across the country, just horrific carnage over the weekend, maybe worse than we've seen in a long time. But in this case, I'm stunned at how these parents behave. And I don't have kids. Shannon, you don't have kids. Jeremy, you don't have kids as far as you know. But I just think, I think we would be, I always have to add that. I just think we would be better behaved human beings at games like this. And I wish per league, whether it's Little League baseball, whether it's youth sports, whether it's middle school, whether it's high school, I think the whatever the entity is that is in charge of athletics needs to say, hey, zero tolerance. Because to Jeremy's point, Shannon, we're even hearing the byproduct of this. There are games being played now that have to be canceled because there's no umpires and there's no referees, because more and more adults who used to do this for love of the game, they're not in this to be assaulted by some insane lunatic parent who might go violent on them because they made a call against their kid that the parent doesn't agree with. It's not, I wouldn't do it. I love sports. We talk about sports on the radio. If it weren't insane like this, I might consider being an official, being a referee, being an umpire.
Yeah.
In this climate where you can be assaulted for it, sorry, that I'm not going to put my life and well-being on the line for some idiot parent.
Yeah, I think I told you I was a volunteer ref for a very short period at a church. It was like our entire basketball team did it, and so we did church league basketball, and these kids were 4 or 5, and so they're learning the game. And so when we were going through our very small, literally 5 minutes before we ref our first game, crash course, it was, obviously they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to dribble the ball most of the time. They're going to do things that any NBA league would be called immediately. But these are little kids; they're learning the game, so you got to let them go a little bit, and you make sure that when you do call them for something, you're teaching them, right? And it's like, you in that level, you do have the discrepancy of the kids who know what they're doing, their parents know what they're doing, and then the kids that are just there to learn a sport and be active and be out there for the camaraderie purposes. And as those kids grow up and those lines become thicker and thicker, I think craziness ensues between those parents who just can't handle the kids that are there to have fun.
And if something's not done, this generation of parents, I think when we were kids, there was a lot less of this. I'm sure it always kind of existed. There was always a hothead parent, and sometimes there was always a drunk parent who was a little bit too belligerent. But it was certainly, since I was a kid, it was nothing like this. Jeremy, I wonder, the kids who are watching this, kids model their parents' behavior and they model adults' behavior. So when we see professional athletes behaving badly, and we do, and we see fans at professional sporting events behaving badly, and we do. And when these kids see parents behaving badly, what's the next generation of parents going to be like 20 years from now when these kids grow up and have kids of their own? I mean, this is just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, that's not quite the standard that you want to pass on to the next generation, in my opinion. But I don't know if it's for the kids immediately on the field. I mean, the kids that are trying to play in that game, that they just had that game forfeited by zero action of their doing. They didn't do anything, right? And that's got to be so frustrating. That has got to be so frustrating for both. I mean, I know she said a coach was involved and whatnot, but when you're the kids, I mean, even when it's the coach, it's embarrassing, and I can't even imagine how frustrating it is because, like it has been mentioned, this is a playoff game, and it's supposed to be, I mean, probably one of the biggest athletic events of these kids' lives to this point, and it's ruined by selfish individuals who are supposed to be more mature than they are.
And Shannon, I wonder how much of this, you mentioned parents who, when they were kids, heard from their parents, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? As Jeremy mentions, the coach, again, acting like he's coaching in a Major League Baseball game and is throwing a tantrum as the manager. I just wonder how many of these parents, and maybe in this case the coach, aren't just frustrated athletes who never achieved the glory that they hoped to achieve, and here they are, their biggest moment on the big stage is, I'm a coach, I'm a manager for a little league baseball team in a playoff game, and I'm going to raise hell if I disagree with the calls the umpire is making. It's just awful pathetic behavior, if you ask me.
Yeah, they're the real life Will Ferrell from the movie Kicking and Screaming, in which he is a horrible soccer coach to little kids.
Yes, he is. All right, coming up, we will dive back into the NBA playoffs. Big game sevens yesterday. Both of them were blowouts. The shocker was the Dallas Mavericks decimating the Phoenix Suns in Phoenix on their floor, eliminating the Suns and Chris Paul. We will dive back into all of that. KARL Schoening, our resident basketball savant, going to join us just after 8 o'clock. We will talk NFL football as God intended. Major League Baseball. Astros drop a game over the weekend, but they've won 12 out of 13. They're looking great. And what about the Cincinnati Reds? The Cincinnati Reds give up no hits in a game over the weekend, and they lose the game. For only the 8th time in Major League Baseball history, a team allows no hits, and they lose. That and a whole lot more. Little Johnny Cash on the way out. Jeremy KOLOK making the show go. She is Shannon Salty Sweeney. The Salty Shakedown is moments away. You're listening to the Chris Duel Show.
All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your coming. I'll walk you out.
It's great, man.
Thanks for sitting in and listening to us.
So is this your studio or did you share it with somebody?
It's shared. So, there's another show. There's another show like at 10, and then there's another show at 2, and another show at 4. So Jeremy.
You've got bugs. What's your move? A rattly can? Or a simple spritz? Bugs near your kids and pet? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce?
Roland, the phone number is 800-707-9760. I'll put that up here. Wes Perkins saying, Wes says the pandemic has taken a toll physically and mentally. Entitlement has become a big byproduct and contributes to the poor behavior during sporting events, etc. Yeah. And another byproduct of the pandemic, this horrible monster, 18-year-old, who killed all those people in Buffalo, New York over the weekend. He said he started reading some white supremacist website. I forgot the name of it, and I'm glad I don't remember the name of it. I heard that this morning. But he started reading this website during the pandemic. He was bored. He was home. So he started reading this website that was awful and racist and white supremacist. And he got a lot of those ideas reportedly from there. Yeah. There, Jason Paniagua says that website was Fox News. I know a lot of people talking about Fox News in the aftermath of this. So just god awful. And there were, I mean, Buffalo had, I think, the highest death toll, but I mean, there were shootings in Milwaukee. There were shootings in Southern California over the weekend. It was just horrific. I might grab a little more coffee here now that I have a shot. Shannon Salty Shakedown coming up. Sports history, sports birthdays. Here we come. Woo! Woo!
Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Find Chris and Salty on Twitter at Chris Duel and at Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome back on a manic Monday. The Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. You can talk back at us. We like it. We play your comments on the air. You use that free iHeartRadio app. It's a beautiful thing. We are always crystal clear on the iHeartRadio app on the very bottom of your screen. And sometimes it's at the top, but normally at the bottom. Sometimes it'll give you a different view. But where you see that microphone button on your screen, you press that, you leave a message, you press send. We get it. We play it on the air, and we react to what's on your mind. Don't forget our poll question today at Ticket760 and at AM1300 The Zone on Twitter. Who's going to win it all in the NBA? We are down to 4 teams: Boston, Dallas, Golden State, and Miami. Who wins the whole darn thing? I got a feeling it's the Golden State Warriors, and I hope I'm wrong because I've seen that movie before. And I'm sorry, Spurs fans, and I'm wearing my Spurs shirt today, but I'm pulling for the Mavericks all of a sudden. I don't want Boston because Boston, Shannon, A, it's Boston. Some of the worst fans in America. B, Red Auerbach, not that I can't let it go, and he's dead. You would think I could let it go, but Red Auerbach did not want the Spurs or any of the 4 ABA teams in the NBA. He wanted the ABA to crash and burn, and he wanted no survivors, no surviving franchises. And of course, 4 teams came from the ABA, the San Antonio Spurs, the New York Nets, who had to become the New Jersey Nets because you had the Knicks in New York, the Indiana Pacers, and the Denver Nuggets. Of those 4 teams, only one has won NBA championships, and that would be your San Antonio Spurs. But I'm pulling for the Mavericks. I like Luka, and I love Boban. I want to see Boban get a ring, and that would have to be a very big ring because he's got a very big hand. All
yeah,
right.
that would really change up his ring
Yes.
coaster commercial that he's already got going on.
How cool would that be? Yes. Boban in the finals. I think he's a superstar anyway. As far as off the court, everybody loves him, and he's in movies now, and all kinds of things are happening. But if he goes to the finals, he'd get so much more exposure. And then if they won it, that would be so cool. And please, I've had enough Golden State Warriors. Please, please, please don't let that happen. Shannon Salty Shakedown moments away, just after the top of the hour. We love talking basketball with KARL Schoening. KARL will talk NBA playoffs with us. I also want to talk a little NBA draft prospects, as the San Antonio Spurs have 3 first-round picks in the upcoming draft. Who is on his radar in the upcoming NBA draft? That and a whole lot more. We will also talk NFL football and Major League Baseball. Lots going on in both of those leagues as well. Before Shannon's Salty Shakedown, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? May 16th, 1955, Rocky Marciano, one of the greatest names ever for a boxer. Rocky Marciano beats Don Cockle by a TKO in the 9th round at Kezar Stadium in San Francisco, where the 49ers used to play, to retain his world heavyweight title. It's a good day to retain your world heavyweight title because on this day in 1975, Muhammad Ali, a technical knockout over Ron Lyle in 11 rounds to retain his world heavyweight boxing title. 2 years later, on this day, in 1977, Muhammad Ali defeats Alfredo Evangelista in 15 rounds. Whoa, he went 15 with Ali to retain his world heavyweight boxing title. Shannon and Jeremy on this day in 1980. It was game 6 of the 34th NBA championship. The LA Lakers in Philly defeated the Philadelphia 76ers to win the NBA championship 4-2. Magic Johnson in game 6 plays center because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is out with an injury, and Dr. Jerry Buss in his first year as owner of the LA Lakers wins the NBA championship in 1980. But we all know that because we watched Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty, and so did Don Harris. Even though Don disparages that show, Don watched every second of it. We love you, Don Harris. We disagree with you on Winning Time. Finally, on this day in 2019, Brooks Koepka fires a tournament record equaling and course record 63. It was 7 under 63 to lead the PGA Championship by 1 stroke after the first round at Bethpage Black, New York. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1928, one of my favorite managers ever, even though he was a Yankees manager most of the time, Billy Martin. He was a second baseman, but as a manager multiple times with the New York Yankees, fired and hired and fired and hired. I didn't know this. Billy Martin was born in Berkeley, California. He doesn't seem like a Berkeley boy to me. Billy Martin passed away in 1989. Born on this day in 1955, Soviet and Belarusian gymnast, 4-time Olympic gold champion in 1972 and 1976, Olga Korbut was born in Grando, Belarus, the Soviet Union, on this day in 1955. And finally, born on this day in 1966, the pride of Oklahoma State University until Jeremy KOLOK showed up on the campus, Hall of Fame NFL running back, forgot his helmet in a Super Bowl against the Dallas Cowboys for the Buffalo Bills, Thurman Thomas, born in Houston, Texas. He was a Texan. I think of him as Oklahoma State. No, Thurman Thomas was a Texan. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, pole assassins, and monkeys, here it is, your Manic Monday Salty Shakedown.
Well, Chris, with the Brooklyn Nets being eliminated from the playoffs early on, I thought we were done with the Kyrie news. It has been Kyrie nonstop, it feels like, ever since the start of the pandemic, as well as throughout his career, you know, when he said some strange things. But in 2014, that did not stop Nike from contracting him to be one of the faces of their shoe lines. In fact, they created their own Kyrie shoe line, which has since become one of the most popular brands that they have under their belt, so much so that Kyrie has been making $11 million a year with that Nike deal. But last summer in July, a leaked photo of a prototype shoe for the Kyrie line came out online, and Kyrie's response was calling the shoe trash, and that Nike put the design out without getting his okay. So that got things off to a rocky start. Not to mention, you know, with COVID and whatnot, he wasn't available for a ton of games this year with the Brooklyn Nets, meaning that, you know, they weren't able to show off the Kyrie shoes because he wasn't on the court nearly as much. With all that in mind, it seems that the fall release of the next Kyrie shoe will be the last as this deal looks to come to a close. They have not discussed renewals. They say they do not discuss those outwardly, but all signs point to an end for Kyrie and Nike. Now, Chris, my question to you is, given how much money and the popularity of those Kyrie shoes, he's still got some years left in the league. Do you think an Adidas, a Reebok, any sort of other shoe brand will be willing to take him on after Nike dumps him later this year?
I can't believe kids or adults want a Kyrie Irving shoe. It's like, hey, man, I want a guy who doesn't play much, a guy who doesn't get vaccinated. He believes the earth is flat.
Jeremy wants them.
They're cool looking shoes, Chris. That's what can I tell you?
But they're
look
Kyrie's.
Cool. They look cool because they don't have big Kyrie letters
They're
on the
better
side.
than
They don't
Curry's.
say his name. They are better than Curry. They're cool looking shoes. That's all I can tell you.
But it's Kyrie. Are you a fan of Kyrie Irving, Jeremy?
As a human being, not so much. As his basketball skill, absolutely. And you know,
And what if they came out with an O.J. Simpson shoe?
I mean, it's like,
well, I don't like that O.J.
but-
butchered a couple of people allegedly.
You're so
But
quick to. What if OJ?
but damn, that's a great looking shoe.
Man,
Well, we know
I-
they make boots and not tennis shoes for Mr.
that's
OJ.
true. Yeah. And you leave that big bloody footprint at Barrington.
Hey man, I'm just saying, give the Kyries a chance. They're cool looking.
See, John Lennon said, all we are saying is give peace a chance. Jeremy says, all I am saying is give the Kyries a chance. All right. All right, Shannon.
All right.
Moving
Well, let's move on to a player or former player that I think we can all agree upon as a well-liked guy and great individual, Mr. Tony Parker. Sir, he has been busy since his retirement from the league. But interestingly enough, he's now a horse racer. We talk so much about the Kentucky Derby. Well, over in France, they have kind of their own version, and his horse won yesterday. He has won a third of their version of the Triple Crown, the French 1000 Guinness. His horse, by the way, they all race under the name Infinity 9, which is an homage to, of course, his number 9 that he wore with the Spurs. And when asked about his affinity for horses, he said, playing in Texas and living there with all those ranches, I knew I wanted to get into horses. When I stepped away from my career, that's exactly what he did. But Chris, out of all of this, as I said, he won yesterday. And I don't know if this is going to hurt your feelings or not, but he said winning that horse race yesterday gave him the same pleasure as winning an NBA championship.
Okay. Okay.
Does that rub you the wrong way a little bit?
Well, you know, I think he's getting caught up in the moment. I think that's a little hyperbole. I mean, you know, Tony is free to love things the way he loves things, I guess. So I just, I do like, you know, he owns a basketball team. I saw him playing soccer the other day on social media. He was like on a soccer pitch, kicking around a soccer ball in a stadium with fans in the stadium. I don't know what was, he's all over the place lately.
Yeah, well, Tony Parker, horse guy. Who knew? Maybe we'll see him at the next Kentucky Derby.
Yes.
All right, finally today, keeping it within the basketball realm. It is the playoffs, and Steph Curry, obviously a huge storyline, but another storyline attached to him during this run is that he just earned his Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology from Davidson College. Of course, that's where he played his college ball. Chris, he left school 13 years ago when he joined the NBA. He had one semester left in order to complete his degree. He just did it, and teammate Gary Payton II, who is also working on getting his degree during this playoff run, he said he should be done within a month, commented on Steph Curry and gave props to his teammate.
Gary, we found out that Stephen Curry graduated from Davidson today, and I thought maybe, did you see him? Did you talk to him, congratulate him?
I did. I congratulate him. I'm finishing up my last semester in the Oregon State, actually, will be done in probably next month or so. So I told him that's huge, you know, just a big relief, you know, just off his shoulders, I can imagine. And but yeah, I'm proud of 30, getting that done. It took a couple years after, but it doesn't matter as long as you get the paper. That's all that matters. But I'm proud and excited for 30.
A couple years, 13 years, whatever, but Steph Curry officially a college degree holder and graduate. Now, Chris, college is hard no matter who you are or where you go to school. And I can't imagine doing it on top of having a job, especially one like being in the NBA where you're making plenty of money. And if you manage your money well, you don't need to go find you a 9-to-5 after you retire. So that, you know, to still have it in your mental capacity to say, no, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to go get this degree. I give kudos to him, and I give kudos to any athlete who's done it during their professional playing days or even when they've gone back to school after the fact. So congratulations, Mr. Steph Curry. If you don't win a ring, at least you won a degree. Just another accolade to the many he already has, Chris.
I think it's cool, and now he can he can get a ring, Davidson College ring, and know that he's a graduate of Davidson College. And I think it's important, and obviously you just alluded to it, Shannon. Steph Curry is a multi-gazillionaire, doesn't need the degree, but when he gets a degree, a lot of kids look up to Steph Curry, and a lot of kids are not going to be NBA superstars. And one of the ways that they can make their way in this life is through education and through academics. And I think this has a subtle or not so subtle effect on young Steph Curry fans, and maybe even some adults who are Steph Curry fans who say, you know what, maybe I'll go back to school and do it. Obviously, Steph Curry is in a different stratosphere than 99.9999% of the population, but it's a cool thing. It shows that he values education. He values that degree, and I think he's being a good alum of Davidson College. Now, whenever he represents that school, he says, yep, I graduated. So, he speaks the truth now in supporting his alma mater. I like it. I criticize Curry. I can't stand the chewing on the mouthpiece thing. But other than that, hard to argue what this guy has achieved on and off the court.
Well, congratulations to Steph Curry, and again, to do it during this run, that's incredible in and of itself. There is today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown as always. Lots to digest. Nike and Kyrie parting ways. I can't imagine. Well, I guess if there's money to be made, you've got Jeremy KOLOK going, just give the Kyries a chance. I'm sure maybe Adidas or somebody else is going to take a chance on those. Tony Parker, now a successful horseman, and Steph Curry going back to college. Speaking of Steph Curry, Shannon and Jeremy, I can't imagine, and I hope I'm wrong, and I was wrong about Mavericks versus Phoenix Suns. The Warriors scare me. And again, we've seen that movie so many times. Warriors win the NBA Finals. These Final Four teams, Golden State, Dallas, and in the East, Boston, Miami. I think Golden State beats Dallas. By the way, that's our poll question this morning. And then assuming Golden State advances, Miami does not scare me at all. I got a feeling Boston's going to win that series, but I think Golden State would beat Boston as well. I think it's, I don't want to say cakewalk, Shannon, but I think it's not an easy path, but I think it's going to be not that bumpy of a path now for the Golden State Warriors to win the finals. I hope your Dallas Mavericks, led by Boban Marjanovic, prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm with you. I feel like the Warriors, just, you think of Dallas, you think of Luka, you think of the Warriors, and you think of Clay, you think of Steph, you think of Draymond, you think of Jordan, you think of all of the pieces that they have, that if they're all playing in sync, it shouldn't be too hard for them to get past my Dallas Mavs. I kind of, that series against Memphis was so physical. I think it'd be a win for Dallas if everyone comes out with their head on their shoulders, no crazy fines, and no injuries. We don't need to hurt Luka going into the offseason, because we know how much he trains in the offseason. He never comes back looking chunky.
Jeremy KOLOK, your Memphis Grizzlies no longer in these NBA playoffs, like my beloved San Antonio Spurs. You don't have a dog in this fight, as far as we know. I see the Warriors going the distance here. How do you see these Final Four teams playing out?
Yeah, it's hard to pick against the Warriors based on everything y'all just said. But I think on the other side, you said you're not scared of the Miami Heat, Chris. I'm very intrigued by that matchup over there on the eastern side of the bracket with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. I think that's going to be a heck of a series, and I don't know who's going to go through to the other. I had to pick probably Miami, and don't forget about Victor Oladipo, Chris. He's like their 8th man off the bench. And Chris, Shannon, when I was watching the Mavs game last night, I was thinking, how genius was that move to get rid of Porzingis and bring in Spencer Dinwiddie?
Whoa. Yeah. And Shannon, I mean, you pay more attention to the Mavs than any of us. Porzingis, it just wasn't working out with him on that Mavericks roster. And Spencer Dinwiddie has been a big contributor for them.
Yeah, I think at first glance, for a lot of people, he was a big name, and why would you go ahead and get rid of the big name? Like you said, it just wasn't working out. It wasn't the pairing they thought it would be. And, I guess maybe they wanted a name for a name, but ultimately Dinwiddie's been doing really well and in place and cohesive with Luka, which is what they ultimately wanted out of it.
Speaking of the NBA playoffs, we love talking hoops with KARL Schoening. He lives, sleeps, eats, breathes, and as I mentioned earlier, probably does some other bodily functions with basketball. I don't want to go into that necessarily, but KARL Schoening knows his basketball is what I'm trying to say. So we'll talk NBA playoffs, and I want to talk a little NBA draft. It's only next month. Spurs, 3 first-round draft picks. I'm feeling good about my Spurs in their 50th season. So we'll talk with KARL Schoening coming up. We'll dive into the NFL and Major League Baseball and the Astros. It's the Chris Duel Show. John Williams, thanks for that information. It's National Barbecue Day. I did not know that. So I have to send a text real quick.
I'm serious. For the price of a latte a day, you can get LASIK at the LASIK Vision Institute. The LASIK Vision Institute has performed over 1.3 million LASIK procedures, and we always have great deals to make LASIK affordable for everyone. LASIK only takes minutes, with most patients returning to normal activities the next day. So if you want to see better, a latte better, schedule your free consultation at the LASIK Vision Institute.
The LASIK Vision Institute is offering 20% off LASIK in May. That can be over $900 off when treating both eyes, plus guaranteed financing. So take advantage of this great deal and visit LASIK.com. That's LASIK.com. Amazing vision, amazing price. Cost of LASIK compared to $4.57 up to 3 years. Let's do this promotion and treat it today. With you on 100% off standard price. Any other offers, go to LASIK.com for details.
What's happening?
How are you, sir?
I'm good. What's new?
Just waiting for you to tell me anything about your wonderful baseball.
13 out of 14, 12 out of 13.
Yankees 18 out of 21.
So that's 3 less than 3 under.
Go ahead. Keep
No,
going.
the Astros have a chance to go 20 out of 21. So what else is happening?
That was a basketball game.
See, I need to have a David Munoz cam. I need to be able to.
No.
I have the technology. I have the technology.
Lousy game last night.
What the Yankees? I didn't even.
No, the Mavericks.
Shannon was happy.
Oh, of course you was.
Yeah.
My stepson's happy. He's a huge Mavs fan.
So why were you pulling for the Phoenix Suns?
I like the Mavs.
Oh, so it's an anti-Mavs thing.
I never have liked the Mavs.
Bobon's on that roster.
Bobon's the best thing I like about that whole team right there.
Yeah. You don't like Luka? Everybody likes Luka.
Mark Cuban on down. Luka's a great player. He's going to be a great player for at least another 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
But Mavs just, ever since they came into the league, what was it, 81, something like that?
Yeah.
What year was it, 81?
I think it might have been 80.
80 or 81.
Brad Davis was one of their big guys. Yeah.
Monty was the coach.
Yeah.
So, anyway. All right, so here's your joke.
Okay.
This guy was traveling down the road, speeding, and he notices a cop in the back of him. Then he notices the lights go on the cop's car, and the guy starts speeding up and going another 2 or 3 miles, speeding up before he finally decides to pull over. So the cop comes over to the side of the car and he says, "Good afternoon." The guy says, "Good afternoon, officer." He says, "Officer says, I suppose you know why I pulled you over." He says, "Speeding, right?" He says, "Yes, but why is it that you began to go even faster and faster for 2 or 3 more miles?" He says, "Well, my wife ran off with another man this morning and turned out to be a police officer. I thought you were trying to bring her back to me."
Very good, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm here all week.
Thank you. David Munoz, everybody. What? Something is going a little.
You've got bugs. What's your move? A rattly can? Or a simple spritz? Bugs near your kids and pets? Will it be ingredients you can't pronounce? Or essential oils? Bugs are bugs, not your family. Zivo uses essential oils, which tap bugs' biological systems, so Zivo kills bugs. Plus, it's safe for you to run and pets when used as directed. Zivo, eco-friendly, bug deadly. Notice near you.
Hey, Jeremy. Let me turn my mic off.
Now, Chris Duel.
Just another manic. Wish it was Sunday. That's my Monday. I don't have to run it. Just another manic Monday.
Hour number 3 of the Chris Duel Show on a Monday morning. I'll go ahead and turn my camera back on here. Efforting KARL Schoening to talk some NBA playoffs this morning. We do have that final segment open, so if you want to give us a call, 1-800-707-9760, or use that talkback feature to talk about anything from over the weekend or what we've talked about so far on today's show. You just check out that iHeartRadio app, whether you're listening to Ticket 760 or AM 1300. You hit the little microphone, you talk for 30 seconds, and it comes instantly to our inbox. It looks like we might have KARL Schoening joining us as we speak. The NBA playoffs conference finals now set, with the Miami Heat taking on the Boston Celtics and the Dallas Mavericks taking on the Golden State Warriors. Joining us to talk about it right now, KARL Schoening, the basketball savant. KARL, good morning. Thanks for joining us. And how are you on this Monday morning?
Pretty good, Shannon. Yesterday's games, a little bit bummers of game sevens, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, we've had some really compelling games and series thus far. You mentioned those game sevens, not what we typically want to see out of a game. You'd think they'd be a little bit more close, but is there any series so far in the playoffs that's really stood out to you as far as a favorite, or maybe just an early team to watch next year?
I probably would have said Dallas if it weren't for the fact that they're going to the Western Conference Finals. They looked like they were ready for this step last year. They went, I believe it was 42-30 in that shortened season last year, and there were some questions on whether or not Jason Kidd would maybe push them back a little because Rick Carlisle had such a championship pedigree as a coach, but. Hey, looks like they actually did get their guys. They upgraded with Spencer Dinwiddie. They're just kind of letting Luka really run the show, and their role players are stepping up. And I would have to say, actually, let's talk about Dallas being the team of now as opposed to being the team of next year. But I was really thinking that they had made some tremendous strides, and I didn't quite have them upsetting the Suns, but they definitely should take notice, and the league should as well.
KARL, I'm curious from your standpoint, how big and how much of a difference do you think the Mavericks look now compared to obviously when they still had Porzingis, and how big was that move to bring in Spencer Dinwiddie, like you mentioned? And also, I know you said you didn't quite expect the Mavs to win that particular series, but how much of a shot do you give them against the Golden State Warriors, boys?
Well, it's funny. I think, and I'll probably, have to think about this for a little bit longer, but just like gut reaction, Luka Doncic is maybe the best player left in these playoffs. Jason Tatum's probably up there. You can never really count Steph Curry out as being considered the best player in the playoffs. But Luka Doncic, he's a guy that he's been a leader of men since he was 17 years old playing for Real Madrid. And, we thought that he was going to be the number one overall pick and probably could have been the number one overall pick if he were a 17-year-old. Talent like him doesn't come around often. So I really kind of think that, Doncic being the guy and just getting all of that responsibility as soon as he got to Dallas was just a game changer for him because, instead of maybe just sitting back seat to some other bets, that he really got to just explore how he could be effective at the NBA level. And then when you do bring in somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie, it's really almost there just to sort of take a little bit of pressure off of, do everything Doncic, because Luka needed somebody to just kind of let him play off ball for a little bit. And he'd be a good floor spacer when he can just, relax on the other side of the court. So I think Dinwiddie does a lot more to that team than Porzingis did. But, I think obviously if Porzingis had met his potential pre-injury Porzingis, if you will, before he tore his ACL when he was with New York. That might have been a better compliment to Doncic. But since he wasn't ever really going to be that guy, and he missed a lot of games because of injuries, getting somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans really has changed up the way the Mavericks play a little bit, just because you get another shooter that's a bit more consistent in Bertans, and you also get that guy who can sort of be the ball handler, scorer, and play with Luka Doncic and Dinwiddie. And also you just have to give credit to all the other role players that showed up for Dallas. There's something 2011 Mavericks about this team where their role players, they're coming out to play every night.
Mavericks had to get through the Phoenix Suns in order to make it to the Western Conference Finals, and the Suns an early favorite, not just for that series, but for a trip to the finals, and ultimately they fell short. What does this say about that organization and Chris Paul specifically, who just, yet again, he can't get there. He can't get to a finals, much less get there to finish one.
Man, what is it with Chris Paul's and 2-0 leads in series, right? There's something, I guess, I don't know if complacency sets in or what, but when you look at Chris Paul in 2-0 series, I want to say he's blown maybe 3 or 4 leads in really big series, going all the way back to 2008 when the Spurs came back and beat them. You look at, or I think it was 2009 maybe, but still, this is just one of those things about Chris Paul that I don't know what it is that sort of like flips a little switch, but he's just not the guy that he doesn't show up when his team needs him most, unfortunately. And that's crazy because he's such a great player. But, I kind of want to go back to, I think it was game 2, if you remember, where Chris Paul, for no real reason, because the game was pretty well in hand for the Suns, if you remember, he kind of pulled Jalen Brunson into him and drew the foul. And that clip went viral where it was like, oh, that's just an antic, like almost a dirty play, I would say, where Chris Paul drew the foul on a Maverick. And I believe it was Brunson. And it goes around the social medias, and that probably goes to the Mavericks, and the Mavericks send it to the league office. The league office has to tell the officials to look out for Chris Paul and all his little, quick hand things that he could get away with. And he can't get away with them anymore. He fouls out of, I think it was game 4. He had 5 fouls in game 6. And I think that sort of took away the way he also plays defense as well. So, I think that maybe just shook up his rhythm so much that, people were joking that he turned 37. It doesn't quite work like that, but I do think that maybe the officials called him a little bit differently. And that made the big effect right there where Chris Paul is not who he really is. And you take away one small thing, and maybe that just changes up a player's, like Chris Paul's rhythm so much that you lose the guy that you need him to be. And then the Mavericks go on a crazy tear too. It's not like Doncic ever missed a beat really. And you just have that one guy not play well, and it's an opening for the other team.
KARL, there are obviously, and there have been obviously, a lot of guys from the Spurs tree and Greg Popovich tree that have been involved in this postseason, and a lot of head coaches, such as Mike Budenholzer and Monty Williams, who we just saw their seasons come to an end. But I want to ask you about Boston's head coach, Ime Udoka, a former Spurs player and assistant, because obviously that situation in Boston, it was getting dicey with Brad Stevens, and then he gives up his own job to go to the front office and then brings in Ime Udoka. And for most people around the country, I feel like they've never heard the name Ime Udoka ever before, unless they happen to see their team play the Spurs when he was on the team and he got some minutes, because he was a nice little role player. What have you seen, and what do you see to the job that Ime Udoka has done for this Boston team and the stretch they had to start the new year this season, and obviously knocking off the defending champs, the Milwaukee Bucks?
Yeah, Ime brings a sort of toughness and a player's mentality, and that's the kind of toughness that he brought when he was a player, hard-nosed. And I imagine that at first it was probably a little difficult. You're dealing with a new coach, and he has all that talent that he inherits, because really, when you're a new coach, sometimes you don't really come into the best situation. But he got 2 stars. He had the eventual defensive player of the year in Marcus Smart. So, with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum sort of having to figure out their role. There were some growing pains early on, but I want to say maybe since December, the Celtics have been one of the best teams in the NBA. And how big was it that they actually ended up with the same record as the Bucks and the 76ers and had the tiebreaker among the three of them. So, they got to that 2 seed that came up huge last night with that 7 seed, that game 7 there. And then, I do think the Celtics are good, but there is sort of the stars aligned for them because obviously we talk about how they did get that game 7 for them, but also Chris Middleton not being there for Milwaukee really was huge. You lose basically, in my opinion, their second best player, their second best scorer, sort of the guy that can be the 3-level scorer next to Giannis, and he can dish out. And then with the defense a little bit in array, Chris Middleton would have been able to, create a lot more opportunities for the rest of his team as well as himself. And I do think that if Chris Middleton isn't there, the Bucks probably take that in 6 games, maybe even 5. But that injuries are just as much a part of the game as foul shooting and officiating. So you can't say, oh, you make 5 more free throws, or if this guy weren't injured, or if the officials were a little bit better, that's just how it goes. So, going back to your question about Ime, I really think that he has put them in the mindset of, hey, this is our time to win. Even as Al Horford playing much better than he did 2 years ago in Philly. So there's just something that's all coaching, putting together all the ingredients. And I'm really happy for Ime because I think he might have found himself a good home in Boston.
Well, on the other side, Boston will now face the Miami Heat, and Jeremy says, people shouldn't just go be quick to look past them because it was just a few short years ago that they were in the finals when it was the bubble season, and now they're back. They're already favored in game 1 by 2. What about the Miami Heat poses a threat to these Boston Celtics?
I think the Heat have more experience, but the Celtics are more talented. And, talent doesn't always win games, but when it comes to a playoff series, it usually wins playoff series. I get the feeling that if you have the most talented team, and I think the Celtics are playing well right now, you might have a little bit of a rest advantage there for the Heat. But it really comes down to, I think the Boston Celtics are going to I think they're going to win that series in 6. And I would actually have them, if they go up against the Warriors, I could see them losing to the Warriors. But if they go up against the Mavericks, I could see them beating the Mavericks. So I'm pretty confident, at least from my vantage point, that the Celtics are just the better shooting team. I think they can even outgrit the Heat because the Heat kind of remind me a little bit of the Memphis Grizzlies, how they kind of grit and grind their way through games. Not quite as physical, but there's just something about this, I think, Celtics team that can match that sort of hard nose to, being kind of emotionally led by somebody like Marcus Smart. And, while he doesn't make the biggest impact in the stat sheet, somebody to really help against that sort of, the opposing team is playing physical is Derek White. He really is a sort of game changer defensively, and how he can just kind of make a stop. So you have really 2 good perimeter defenders in Smart and White, and Robert Williams, assuming he can play, that's another really good defender. And then you have those 2 scorers, and there's just something about the firepower of the Celtics that I just don't think the Heat can match. So unless Jimmy Butler just carries that team to the finals, I really do have the Celtics taking this series in 5 or 6.
Carl, I want to ask about the Golden State Warriors. They're not exactly the most popular team around where we come from, but they do have Steph Curry, and they are absolutely riveting to watch. And I don't partake in legacy talk very often because I think it's a waste, but I do want to ask about Steph Curry because, and maybe this is an oversimplification, but do you think that maybe he has, if he needs it, you think he maybe has some sort of extra motivation to kind of prove that he, and obviously this Warriors team, can not only get back there, but extend their dynasty, if you want to call it that, in the post-Kevin Durant era? And also, as great as Steph Curry's been, he's just phenomenal. but he's not won an NBA Finals MVP award. Do you think any of those things go into factor for him kind of to have that extra chip on his shoulder this year, just to kind of show, like, hey, man, y'all forgot about us with all the injuries we had and Kevin Durant leaving, but we're still the Golden State Warriors. And would you, I guess, to a non-Warriors fan like so many of us are, the question that we're dreading that I would like you to answer, is this the normal? Are the Warriors just going to be there for at least the next 5 years, just like they were for the past 5 or so years before the injuries?
Yeah, I can't say they're going to be there for the next 5 years, but going back to one of your questions, are they playing with a bit of a chip on their shoulder? Absolutely. Because, the Kevin Durant rings, I think there's some kind of NBA fan talking point that they just don't count because they were too good. They got Kevin Durant because of a spike in the salary cap. So a team that was hard capped already all of a sudden has a max contract that they can give out. They get Kevin Durant. They had just won 73 games last year, or the year before that, I should say. And then next thing you know, they have Kevin Durant, and they win 2 of the next 3. And then when Kawhi Leonard comes around, the injury to Klay Thompson, the injury to Kevin Durant, KD goes to Brooklyn, Klay Thompson's out 2 years. I think Steph and Draymond missed some stuff. So they haven't been in the playoffs for 2 years. But, if you kind of look at this roster, obviously those key players aren't in their prime from that 73-win team, but the supporting cast around them is arguably better than that supporting cast of that 73-win team that, eventually lost to LeBron James in 2016. So, I don't know if you can necessarily say that this group has a lot of run with them because, James Wiseman, the jury's kind of still out on him. He's had to deal with some injuries early on, but, I like Moses Moody. When he was in the G League, the second half of the G League season, he had the highest point per game score average of the G League players. Jonathan Kuminga, I just gush over him. He is a modern NBA player. I think that they're going to develop well with him. But then you obviously got those guys. Klay is back, Steph is back, Draymond, just to really make the engine roll. And, we talk about the experience of the Heat. These guys have more experience than anybody. I get the feeling if you were to match up how many playoff games those 3 guys have compared to the rest of the other 3 teams, it's probably not all that close. So it is really one of those things where I think this is the Heat's championship to lose. And I think that they have the sort of chip on their shoulder of, people were probably talking mess about their championships. People were talking about them maybe not being back because they had those 2 years with all those injuries that, resulted them being in the lottery. And now, you add on one more fuel log to the fire, if you will, with Steph Curry never having gotten the Finals MVP. Something tells me that this is Steph's year to get the Finals MVP. And, they just got to get through Luka Doncic and whoever comes out of the East. And I get the feeling that, I mentioned earlier, I think the Celtics can beat the Heat, and I think the Celtics can beat the Mavs. I don't think anybody can beat the Warriors, but that's why we play the games. I can't predict the future, so don't put money on it. But, those are my sort of opinions on how things go. And it's because the Warriors just are that team that's done it before, sans Kevin Durant, but they did do it before Kevin Durant got there as well.
Finally, KARL, as we near the finals and then thus the offseason of the NBA with early exits from superstars like KD, Kyrie, James Harden, Chris Paul, and LeBron not even making the playoffs, are there any headlines you see this summer that could come our way to keep the NBA in news?
You mean in the terms of maybe some trade shakeups?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm really curious what the Lakers are going to do because I get the feeling they kind of have to double down on this roster. They got LeBron James, they got Anthony Davis. When it comes to Russell Westbrook, that's the question because there's just something about Russ that maybe he should finally concede going to the bench. If you were to trade him, what could you really get for him? You would probably have to give up more first-round picks. And if you're the Lakers, I think you're reaching into like 2028 and 2029 to give up your next first round picks because they gave up so much for Anthony Davis. But I do think that that's going to be an interesting thing to look at, because if I were running the Lakers and it was just the fire it was last year, it might be worth, and I know that this probably wouldn't be the popular thing to do, might be worth seeing what LeBron James might pull in a trade, or Anthony Davis will pull in a trade, because keep Russell Westbrook because he's such a big expiring contract, and start over as soon as possible. Maybe get some of that draft capital back, because that's not a championship roster. It really did sort of go by the wayside once they traded for Westbrook, let Alex Caruso go, and sort of lost some of the shooting and the depth. And the thing is, LeBron is, I think, 38 next year. So, you don't really have much time to trade him. If maybe injuries catch up to him, he's still LeBron James, so he's not going to get traded. Anthony Davis is still probably going to not get traded. But, you do probably, if you're the Lakers, kind of wonder in the back of your head, what could we get for those guys? I'd love to see if the Lakers do something like that to shake things up. But when it goes to other people around the league that might be on the move, Zach LaVine, he's probably going to be looking for a big payday. And I sort of wonder with, Lonzo Ball and DeMar DeRozan, even though they showed that it can kind of work, does he sort of feel like it's crowded in that backcourt with the ball in those two guys' hands a lot of the time? He might be on the move. And you just never know if somebody like a Donovan Mitchell or Rudy Gobert, they say that there's such a rift between those two, and the Jazz get bounced in the first round. Is it a guarantee that those two sort of have either new home, both of them, or they split up, and you have to figure out who's going to get you the best return in terms of sort of, cost reward benefit there. And Rudy Gobert is actually the best player on the Jazz. I know everybody wants to talk about Spida and, him being the best scorer on the team. That's true. But the guy that makes everything work with the Jazz is Rudy Gobert. And it does appear that there's some kind of rift there. I want to say that I saw a crazy stat that Joe Ingles passed more to Rudy Gobert than Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell is the starting point guard, and Joe Ingles tore his ACL in February. Or like it was really close. Like Donovan Mitchell had him by like 50 passes. So when you're talking about the big stars, those two are probably the most likely to be traded, and LaVine's the most likely to sign somewhere else. But, when you really look at the new stars, if you will, they're in the playoffs right now. Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler's not a new star, and Steph Curry's not a new star, but you do sort of have that second generation behind LeBron getting their due right now with those two guys. And then the generation behind those guys, Luka is just generational. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in his first conference finals.
Awesome, Karl. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Enjoy the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. I'm sure we'll look to talk to you as the finals get underway here in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. Thanks, y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
KARL Schoening, that's at KS Media 13 on Twitter. If you want to give him a follow, he is a great insight for basketball. When we come back, we'll talk some news out of the NFL, a popular player arrested, and news about the broadcast booth. It's the Chris Duel Show, Ticket 760 AM 1300 The Zone.
Okay. Yeah, I for those of you on the live video feed, my mom is 98 years old, and we had an issue with her. I learned that from my sister. So at the moment, things look like they're relatively normal. I got to double check that. If they're not, and at the moment they're relatively normal. If they're not, then I need to run over there. All right. So at the moment, so far so good, and it looks like I'll be around for this segment. So, all right. Fun times. I'll be right back.
When flying insects show up in your home, how do you get rid of them? Hopelessly clapping every single one? Aimlessly swatting back and forth? Hanging fly strips in your living room? Ew, ew, ew. Instead, try Zevo traps. Zevo uses light, not odor or chemical insecticides, to attract and trap bugs, working continuously so you don't have to. Zevo, people friendly, bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Dean, Lucinda, Louisa, Hector, thank you for your thoughtfulness. At the moment, everything seems okay. We've got my niece was over there watching her, and then my niece had to leave for a while. So my sister's watching. We've got some cameras in her condo. So my sister was watching her. She went off camera. There's like 4 different cameras. We got most of the condo covered. And then she was like calling my name. So we didn't know if she fell down or what. And so at the moment, we see her on a camera, and my niece is on her way back over there. But I thought at the moment during that segment, yeah, I'm about 20 minutes away, and my niece was about 30 minutes away. So I was about to hop in my car and get over there. I think both Shannon and Jeremy were tremendous. I was hearing a lot of that segment while I was texting my sister and my niece, and keeping an eye on my mom on the cameras. So I heard a lot of the segment. It was great. It sounded great. They did a great job on that segment. I missed not talking to KARL SCHOENING, though. I didn't get a chance to talk to. I was going to ask him some Spurs prospects, but we'll do that. We'll do that again soon. So yeah, and anyway, today's the day. Every other week, my sister and I trade off as caregivers for my mom. This is my week. As soon as I get off the show, I then go to her place for the week. So that's coming up. Yeah, both of them I thought were amazing, and especially Jeremy, who doesn't do this all the time. Very impressive, I thought. So the show was in good hands. Speaking of which, I'm out this Friday and next Sunday, and Paul Alexander will be doing the show with Shannon and with Jeremy. So that's cool. Good morning, Frank Ramirez. By the way, I am a big fan of the Blink cameras by Amazon. They are amazing, but they can be scary when somebody's off camera and they've got sound. So we could hear my mom yelling my name, or at least my sister could. And she's texting me that right before we're going to go to the next segment. Yeah, Frank, we talked a lot of Mavs this morning. Can they hang with the Golden State Warriors now? That was amazing. I got to go. Phoenix Suns won 64 games in the regular season. I got to go find who won the most games in the regular season and did not make it to the conference finals. Spurs, the year Memphis punked them, a 1 seed versus an 8. I got to go check and see how many they won that year. Here we go.
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
Welcome back on a manic Monday, the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, your chief meteorologist and the hardest working man in radio. Our thanks to basketball savant KARL SCHOENING. A tremendous segment with KARL, Shannon, and Jeremy all about the NBA playoffs. Shannon and Jeremy, let's move to the National Football League. Lots of unusual stories over the weekend involving the National Football League. And Shannon, what is going on with Drew Brees? Should he stay or should he go? Where's he going to be? What are these cryptic and not so cryptic messages we're learning about former and maybe once again quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, Drew Brees? What do you know about this?
Right. So after he initially retired from the New Orleans Saints, he went on to be a studio analyst for NBC, who was part of the pregame coverage for NBC Sunday nights and, halftime coverage as well. And apparently there was an article that came out yesterday about how he was not going to return. He took to Twitter late last night to say, despite speculation from media about my future this fall, I'm currently undecided. I may work for NBC. I may play football again. I may focus on business and philanthropy. I may train for the pickleball tour, senior golf tour, coach my kids, or all of the above. I'll let you know. So I think as that list continued to grow, maybe you take a little bit of grain of salt with that of, he just wants to say, hey, I'm in control of whatever it is I do, and I will let you know. No need to speculate. But I do find it interesting with the talk that he may not return to NBC, because as we know, there was a huge shakeup as far as broadcast booths are concerned. And most recently, Tom Brady being named as a future color analyst when he does finally retire from the league, and that's coming with a very nice chunk of change. And I don't know, maybe Breeze wanted some of that. Maybe he wanted to be in a booth rather than be in the studio. And since the shakeup, everything seems like it's going to be set in stone for a little while, meaning that there is no room for Drew Brees. So he may be on to what's next. I don't see him going back to the Saints, especially without his buddy Peyton there coaching. But just an interesting revelation to come about last night.
Yeah, and how are you undecided? I mean, it's May 16th. Preseason games are going to be in August. How can you be undecided? Now, we all know Tom Brady retired and then unretired, but that was about 6 weeks ago by now. And you bring up an interesting point, Shannon. It could be a power play by Drew Brees. And again, I think Shannon and Jeremy, I think Tom Brady influences so much of these quarterbacks. And in the case of Drew Brees, he sees Tom Brady retire and unretire. So that must give him a little bit of pause. And even though we as impartial observers in Drew Brees' final season, we could tell that he wasn't able to throw some of the throws like he used to. But to your point, Shannon, for him to then see Tom Brady sign a future contract with Fox that's going to pay him a ton of money, Drew Brees probably realizes he's no Tom Brady on the field. But, I mean, if you get to the level that Drew Brees is on and off the field, he'll be a Hall of Famer first ballot. You got to believe, even if he doesn't believe that he's totally as good as Tom Brady, he must believe that he's damn comparable to Tom Brady. So he probably believes he's in that stratosphere as far as what he should be paid and what he should be given from a television network to talk about football. It's almost like the Dak Prescott thing, Shannon, when he wanted the new contract. When we heard that he wanted, what was close to Mahomes money to reset the market we were like, come on, you're no Patrick Mahomes. You don't deserve that kind of money. At least that's what I said. But, these guys have egos. These guys have a lot of confidence. And I think that's a little bit of what's going on with Drew Brees right now.
Now, he was in the studio, right? So it's not like we get to completely look at him and say, okay, he's a Jason Witten, he's a Tony Romo. He falls somewhere on that spectrum because he was limited as far as, he couldn't do anything live. It was already information that he was able to sit with as they spoke with him. But I thought he was good for what his job role was. I don't know if that necessarily means it does or does not translate to something else. But it is interesting, even when there were discussions of who would be going to Amazon and who would be moving where within NBC and all of these other openings that occurred, that his name wasn't necessarily thrown around. And I don't know if that's because maybe he just didn't have a great time. Maybe he thought he wanted to be close to the game after retiring and that was a good way to do it. Or if they thought he's just not up to snuff as far as being a great color analyst when you have the Troy Aikmans and the Tony Romos and the soon to be Tom Brady's.
Now, I didn't even think about, Aikman in that mix. If you're Drew Brees, you kind of probably also compare yourself to Aikman, because Aikman, a former NFL quarterback who now, has a lot of influence and is up there in the pantheon of Tony Romo, now Tom Brady, and Troy Aikman as those quarterbacks. Jeremy KOLOK, your thoughts on Drew Brees? What do you think is in his head right now? And is he worthy of more money and a bigger role on NBC than he currently has?
I think about what Shannon, you're correct in my opinion as well. Drew Brees wasn't bad at his role. He wasn't bad at all. I think he was just fine. And I heard someone else say this and I was like, they're right. The thing is though, is Drew Brees doesn't exactly command the room. I mean, he's a short dude. He's kind of laid back. He doesn't have a real deep voice or anything. And obviously he wasn't on the call of the games, and maybe this is the reason, but when Tom Brady's on a telecast, on a broadcast, we're going to know. I mean, he's going to command the room. Troy Aikman commands the room. Tony Romo commands the room. I mean, these guys have a seemingly very different personality than Drew Brees, and maybe that's the reason that he seems to really want to get in the actual booth, but I don't know what network he's going to find his way into at this point.
That's a really good way to couch it. And I would agree, Shannon, he doesn't really, we like him. He's a nice guy. He's talented. He's better than Jason Witten, but he doesn't command the room, as Jeremy says, like those other big names that he named. And Drew Brees is a pretty big name. Do you agree, Shannon, that Drew Brees does not command the room?
Yeah, I believe that 100%, and that's not a knock on Drew Brees. It's just that X factor that you need to have when being a part of those shows and those broadcasts. He doesn't draw you in.
I mean, exactly. I mean, there's a lot of leaders of rock bands, but not everybody can be Mick Jagger. Right. Not everybody. I mean, you're a Justin Timberlake fan. Not everybody can be Justin. There are certain people who are, when they walk into the room, you're like, oh my God, look who's here. And yet there's very successful bands out there that have front men or front women who are very, very good, and they create a lot of hits, but they're not necessary. I mean, from the rock and roll analogy, Tom Brady is Mick Jagger, and Tony Romo and Troy Aikman are pretty darn big front men. They're like Paul McCartney or John Lennon or Justin Timberlake, if you want to make those analogies. So that's a pretty good one.
Are we saying Drew Brees is Steve Perry?
Maybe. Yes. Yeah, and Steve Perry has since lost his voice, apparently. So now they got that dude from the Philippines, I'm forgetting his name, who's now the front man for Journey. But yeah, that's a good analogy. He's okay. I do want to jump into the continuing saga, Shannon, of Earl Thomas. My God, the gift that keeps on giving. Just a couple of years ago, I was hoping the Dallas Cowboys would get Earl Thomas because we know he's from Texas and the Austin area, and he apparently told Jason Garrett at one point, went to the Cowboys locker room after a game and said, "Come get me." Maybe we're better off the Cowboys never came and got him. What are the latest headlines involving our buddy Earl Thomas?
Yeah, well, as we know, there was a warrant out for his arrest following some threatening text messages that he sent to a woman about her and her children. And instead of, I guess, just turning himself in, because it's not like he could hide from the fact that there was a warrant. Like, it was trending. Everyone knew about it. He was in his hometown of Orange, Texas, which is outside of Belmont, where he was arrested at a bar, Chris, because that's where so the Cowboys didn't get him, but the police sure did.
Yikes. This is, and again, Shannon, I brought this up last week when we talked about Earl Thomas. I wonder, we talk about CTE, and if not CTE, I just wonder, so many blows to the head, serious head, injuries over time, his behavior being thrown off of the Baltimore Ravens because his teammates wanted him off that team because he was starting fist fights with other teammates. I feel sorry for the guy. It's one of the bigger falls from grace that we have seen. And sadly, if this continues on this trajectory, it might head to a very tragic end. I hope not.
Yeah, it's not great. And to be found in a bar of all places, it's very weird.
Finally, Shannon and Jeremy, we didn't talk a lot about the Astros this morning. We probably should. They beat the Nationals 8-0 last night. Justin Verlander continues to look phenomenal. His ERA has now gone down to something like 1.37 or 1.43. They did lose a game to the Nationals over the weekend after they had won 11 in a row. So I think they're now at 12 of their last 13. So hopefully, Shannon, the Astros can keep a good thing going the rest of this week and moving forward this season.
Yeah, another good winning streak would be great to have here as they work to separate themselves from the rest in their division, the rest in that American League as we, move throughout this baseball season. How many games in are we now of the 100?
I would have to look it up. Yeah, something. I'm amazed. You lose George Springer, you lose Carlos Correa, you lose Garrett Cole and others, and the Astros are still playing Astros baseball. A big winning streak. I think they've got the third best record in the major leagues right now. So kudos to the Houston Astros, and kudos, Shannon and Jeremy, to you guys. Great job today. Great job with KARL Schoening earlier this hour. And we'll do this again in 21 hours. What the heck?
I mean, why not?
Why not? Why the heck not? Oh, yeah. And we will go look for that Ann Hudson follow-up on her 4 million viewed viral video about parents behaving badly at her son's Little League game.
Crazy.
Go to TikTok, and it's her name backwards. It's Hudson Ann, at Hudson Ann with an E, ANNE. So check that out. Jeremy KOLOK, outstanding, sir. Let's do this again tomorrow. Why the heck not?
Yes, sir. Why the heck not?
Yes, we will be all over. We'll see if we learn what's up in the world of Drew Brees in the next 21 hours. For Shannon, Salty Sweeney, and Jeremy KOLOK, our thanks to KARL Schoening, who is always outstanding. We will be back with you tomorrow on a Taco Tuesday. Have yourself a great manic Monday, and thanks for hanging out with us this morning. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Woo! All right, everybody. I am out of here. I got to run to my mom's and see what's going on. Y'all take care. Thanks.